very good morning to one and all present here. I hope you had an amazing day yesterday, but I wanted to hear it from you. How was the yesterday session? I can't hear anything. Yeah. And a warm welcome on the second day of this historic event, Msme Conclave 2023.
You can't hear because mic is with you, not with you.
I have one more, sir. Yesterday ended last night, but the moments will be cherished forever. We had some amazing sessions, got an opportunity to listen to some dynamic personalities and the award show. I don't have words to describe the award show. It was truly a great event and one of its kind. But today is a brand new day. New thoughts, new strength, new energy and a brand new opportunity. It's nice to think about yesterday and smile, but it's nicer to create some new smiles and memories today again. We have some amazing sessions lined up today by some amazing personalities. Let's grab the best of it. In reference to SS Nayak sir's score, we had the best yesterday. Let's see what next we have today. I request everyone to raise for the ICA motto song. Introduce our today's first speaker, C.A. Narasimhan Elangovan. C.A. Narasimhan Elangovan. C.A. Panara sir, C.A. Kota Srinivas sir, and SS Nayak sir to the dais, and along with them take the seats. Thank you.
Guru Raj.
Sorry, Guru Raj Acharya sir also. Now I request C.A. Vinod Bagrecha sir to welcome the gathering.
Very good morning to all of you. Welcome back to the second day MSME conference organized by Ballari branch of SIRC jointly with Hubballi, Belagavi and in association with NITTE Incubation Center. Today we have the guest C.A. Kota Srinivas sir, Assembly Council member. We give a very warm welcome to you, sir, and I request Saprapriya to do the honors.
chartered accountant. Correct, no?
Thank you, sir. For the first session, we have three eminent speakers today: K. Guraj Acharya, Narsimhan Elangovan from Bangalore, and Advocate Krishna Holla. They will be deliberating after the opening remarks by our Central Council member, C.A. Kota Srinivasa. Now I call upon Kota Srinivasa sir to speak a few words on this occasion.
Namaskara. Good morning to all the dignitaries on the dais and off the dais. We have the chairmen of Ballari branch and Hubli branch, Vinod and Amit Babji, the regional council member and the vice chairman of SIRC, Pannaraj, the coordinator of this program, S.S. Nayak sir, and today's one of the speakers, Sir Guraj Acharya sir, and all the senior chartered accountants who have come from various parts of Karnataka, I think Hubli, Belgaum, of course Gulbarga, then we have also from Shivamogga, then Hosapete and Ballari.
Bangalore.
If I forget that, Mangalore is there. Bangalore, yeah, Bangalore, three of us are there. Three, four, five people are there. Then of course some of the entrepreneurs who have come to this particular program. For future entrepreneurs, like I came to know that a lot of students who are pursuing their business courses, they have come here so that they can get an insight about what is we are discussing today, yesterday and today, so that can give them a way forward how to become entrepreneurs and more so the MSME enterprise as such. This is one of the unique program. Also, I should recognize the speaker of this session, Narsimhan, who is here. This is one of the unique program on MSME that too done by small branches. So they are talking about micro, small and medium enterprises, and this is also done by small branches, because in the institute we have categories of branches. So this Ballari, Hubli, Belgavi, all of them are coming together, of course under the able guidance of Mr. Pannaraj, and in association with AAC Nitri Incubation Center. So it's a good beginning. And he was telling this one of the program which has been organized on all India level. First time this type of program has been done for 2 days. A big round of applause for all the organizers who have done this particular program. In fact, I was supposed to be guest of honor in yesterday's inauguration, but because of other commitments, I couldn't come. Because being a Central Council member, we had a Central Council meeting on 18th and 19th. And today also I am supposed to be here for the valedictory as a chief guest, but for some other reasons if they permit me, I have to leave after this meeting, so I just requested them to allow me to speak a few words. In fact, I am not speaking on the technical aspects because there are speakers who have come here and having more knowledge. They will speak on the technicalities of what is MSME, how it has to be done. Just a few things I thought I will share with you. Recently, from the ICA, that is Central Council, the Minister for MSME, he requested ICA to do some branding of this MSME or spread the message to the entire nation as such. So that we have committees, of course, I'm telling this to others, non-chartered accountants who are sitting here. We have various committees under ICA, and one of the committees for MSME and startups. So we started this, we thought of doing this MSME Yatra. On August 19th it started in Mumbai, and November 19th it ended in Mumbai itself. So that MSME Yatra was for 75 days, covering 75 cities across India. So 75 cities on 75 days, and also we thought of having 75 programs. Why this 75 came means because it was the 75th year of independence. So the committee thought we will have 75 days of program for travel. Then we will go to 75 cities and we will do 75 programs, 75 branches as such. In fact, ICA has got its head office in New Delhi. It has got 5 regional councils based on geography, northeast, west, south and central. and it has got 166 branches in the country. In India, we have 166 branches. Of course, abroad also we have some chapters, 44 chapters, and we have presence. The Institute of Chartered Accountants of India has got presence in almost 77 countries across the world. So this 75 days yatra started. We had a separate bus for this. We prepared a separate bus for this, where that bus traveled across India. It started from Mumbai, it went across the India, and again went back to Mumbai as such, covering all the regions. As I said, 5 regions are there. Every region we connected 15 branches. So in Karnataka also it came to Bangalore, it came to Ballari, it came to Mangalore, Udupi. So like that, various 15 branches in each region we connected, or we visited, that bus visited. And en route, like if I go to a particular, like in Ballari it came, we had a program for MSME with the MSME sector and started telling the members about the importance of MSME. In fact, there is Udyam registration. All MSMEs can get the Udyam registrations. After this MSME Yatra, almost 1 crore registrations have happened. So this is a contribution of ICA towards this particular, I should say, the MSME sector as such, because we are called as partners in nation building. The ICA is called as partners in nation building, and we will be called for to do many programs which is required for the government of India. And government of India also, and also the states are doing a lot of things to MSMEs. Every state has got its unique, what you can say, schemes for the MSMEs. In fact, policies also it has got. In fact, 3 or 4 years back, when Mr. H.D. Kumaraswamy was the Chief Minister of our state, he was there for 1.5 years, and he presented 2 budgets. He said, let us have something called compete with China. So that's a very good initiative, I should say, but somehow I think it has not taken up. Compete with China is very, very important. The reason being, the India's trade with other countries, especially with respect to imports, we trade with China. The most of our imports will be with China, and we are also helping the China to become a super economic power. India's contribution is also there to make China as a super economic power. Recently, our trade deficit has crossed $100 billion with China. Recently, last 2 months back, the trade deficit with China has crossed $100 billion. So we are all very, very, what I should say, excited to purchase China products. So wherever you go, you'll get only China products, or most of it is from China. If this mentality has to change, so this mentality has to change, and we should encourage MSMEs to see that they produce a proper quality product wherein we need not go for buying China products, we can buy Indian products as such. So the trade deficit is increasing day by day because we are depending too much on China for their products as such. When we talk about other things, MSMEs, of course, the definitions and all, by this time you must be aware of. What is that lacking in our system as such? What I have seen, because even I am in practice from past 25 years, and I started this profession almost 31 years back, right from my articles days. One thing what we are missing, of course it's a universal thing for Indians, is the culture. The basic culture is missing in Indians. Basic culture in the sense whether it's not just wearing the Western clothes as such. When once we talk about culture, the business culture or the business ethics or professional ethics, it's very, very important for the growth. Today India is the 5th largest economy with $3.1 trillion, and we were talking about $5 trillion, but now they say it's 5 trillion is not to be spoken at all. Next 25 years, we will be reaching $30 trillion. Every 1.5 years or 2 years, India is trying to achieve $1 trillion. So by 100th years of our independence, maybe 2047 or 2050, India is destined to reach $30 trillion. What we have achieved in 75 years after independence, that is $3 trillion. In 25 years, it will go 10 times. how it can go 10 times? On its own, it cannot grow until unless we Indians take India to the next level. So it's a responsibility of each and every one of us sitting here that we work in such a way that Indian economy from 3 trillion it will go to 30 trillion. And this is the 5th largest economy today. It may go to 2nd largest economy after USA. We will even beat China in 2050 is what the estimations they say. We don't know what is going to happen in the future, but as per the estimations, as per the trajectory or as per the way India is growing, this is what we are expected. But how can we reach that? First thing is to reach that particular level. Second thing is to maintain that level. So there is a responsibility on each and every one of us to see that we work towards taking this country to the 2nd largest economy, that is $30 trillion economy as such. I was talking about culture and I was talking about ethics. See, today MSMEs, there is an opportunity that whenever you make a service or whenever you sell a product, within 45 days you have to get the payment. Otherwise you are liable for, you can entitled for charging some interest. Maybe the, yeah, you would have covered, everything you would have covered yesterday. So you are eligible for charging interest on that. But before that, what I am telling about the culture is, whenever you are supposed to pay, you pay it. So that should be the mentality of all of us. When we have to pay something, we have to pay it. Why you have to wait 45 days? Because law says 45 days, why you have to pay on 45th day? Immediately when once you get the services or immediately when you get the materials, whatever the terms, maybe 15 days, 30 days, why don't we pay that? So this attitude should come across the globe, means across India, for everybody. Everybody it should come that whenever I have to pay somebody, I have to pay. So that is one thing. If the culture comes among all the people, not only the businessmen, even for professionals, everybody for that matter, if I have to pay something, I have to pay. Why I have to wait for 2 months, 3 months? That is one culture. And then the financial discipline. When I talk about financial discipline, when you have money, you have to see for what it has to be utilized. If you there is some diversion, then all the problem will start. Like so many cases we have seen, because I am telling because of my experience where I will be dealing with my clients, when they get the money, when we ask them to pay advance tax, they will say, why no sir, we will pay afterwards. Then afterwards nothing will be paid. Neither advance tax will be paid nor self-assessment tax also will be paid. So that they will go to that particular stages. I have seen so many people. When they have money, when we say that this is your estimated income, pay the advance tax, they will not pay. Then finally, they will land up or end up not even paying the self-assessment taxes. They have to pay in installments and they have to pay huge interest on that. So this financial discipline, when I say, when businessman gets the money, he should see what he has to supposed to do that particular, how to utilize this particular money as such. So there are a lot of cases we would have seen where accounts becomes NPAs, because in most of the cases there will be diversion of funds. When we go for audits, when we say take up the accounts, we see a lot of accounts will be NPAs basically because there will be diversion of funds. So this financial discipline, then culture, if all of us develop, definitely the MSME sector has got a lot of facilities and advantages. As I said, both central governments and state governments are coming with a lot of schemes. They are even making various clusters for MSMEs, so you can use those clusters. When once you have everything organized sector, like everything has to be accounted. Even accounts is very, very important. For MSME sector or any sector for that matter, accounting is also very, very important. You should know what is your finance levels. So for that our institute is there, our membership is there to support you people. For MSME people, there is a profession called Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, and we have a lot of chartered accountants in practice. You can take their help to see that you maintain proper books of accounts, pay proper taxes, and get whatever the benefits you would like to get from the governments. So these are some of the things I thought I will share with you regarding the MSME, and of course the contribution of MSME is I think 30% of the GDP, sir. So 30 to 40%, yeah, 40% they are saying. So let us take 30%, 33% let me take. So 3 trillion is the 3.1 is the trillion in the GDP of India. 30% means 33% means MSME's contribution is 1 trillion. Now we are talking about 30 trillion. Yeah, 5 minutes, sir. Okay. We are talking about 30 trillion. Even if I take 33%, it will be 10 trillion. So it will be 10 times. The contribution of MSME will be 10 times of what you are contributing today. And of course, the employment generation is 40%. Huh? Sir? Excluding agriculture in the service sector and manufacturing sector, they say it is 60%, because large industries, they employ less but produce more. This MSME is also giving a lot of employment opportunities. Then they will be working as an auxiliary units to the larger industries as such. So these are some of the benefits of MSME. Of course, as the time progresses, there will be more and more requirement for MSME development. Even the governments will come forward and give a lot of benefits to the MSME sector. As what I said earlier, whenever you are an MSME client, so kindly concentrate on this culture and financial discipline so that everybody will be benefited out of this. Regarding the institute activities, of course, all of you are aware, all the members are aware what is happening in the council. In fact, recently on 10th of January, we declared the results of inter and final. The first time in the history of ICA that examination results of both inter and final was declared.
Second rank from Mangalore.
Yeah. First you have to clap for declaring both the results. Then we will go for rank holders. Then, in fact, recently most of you would have attended the ICA organized this workup, that is World Congress of Accountants in Mumbai. That was a milestone achievement of ICA. In the last 75 years or 73 years of existence of ICA, we have not done such a big program as such. And when I was talking about MSME Yatra, it has been entered in the Indian Book of Records. The ICA has entered in the Indian Book of Records for having this 75 days of program and spreading the message of the importance of MSME across the India as such. Then WACAW was a conference where almost 10,000 members attended, both physical and virtual. I hope this should also be a Guinness Book of World Record, because 10,000 accountants attending a particular conference is not heard before. And after completing this WACAW, ICA has increased its brand image and the stature at the global level. In fact, you saw this ICA motto song. Earlier ICA motto song, the eagle was to sit on Indian map. Now it is sitting on the global map. So it's on the globe, the ICA symbol is sitting. So we should know that as chartered accountants, as the profession, ICA, it has taken a leaf, means or it has taken this thing in stride from only restricting itself to India, from India to a global level as such. Definitely whatever is required from council side we have been doing. I also request all the members to support the council activities and see that ICA as an institute will grow to the global level as such. Wishing each and every one of you Happy New Year, and thank you for inviting me and giving me this opportunity to share a few of my thoughts with each and every one of you. Thank you.
Thank you for your remarkable words, sir. It's our privilege and honor to have you amongst us.
Good morning, everyone. So the Fintelligent Investor is a medium through which CA Pratiksha Pai and I deliver basic tips in relation to finance, taxation, share market. So it's a tech. This involves both combination of me and her using both our skills. She uses technological skills. I am a technical person. I give the content and she goes to the creative part of it. So this is the second book which we are launching of the Fintelligent Investor series, and we are grateful that we are such stalwarts here to release our book. This is available on, the videos are available on YouTube and Instagram. So I thank Bellary branch for giving this opportunity for launching this ebook. So I our tagline here is that this is CA Sanket Naik telling you be a intelligent investor. So I request CA Kota Srinivas sir to please launch this e-book.
Thank you so much, sir. I would request all the dignitaries to please come up the dais. We will be available. We'll start up with the next speaker. The first session for the
Again change in plan.
Again changing the plan. The topic was this. His topic of discussion will be empowering MSMEs by digital transformation. It gives me immense pleasure to introduce today's dynamic personality, dynamic speaker, C. Narasimhan Ellen Govan. He have many degrees in his caps like BCom, FCA, CS, DSA, and goes on. The list goes on. C. Narasimhan Ellen Govan, a futuristic, a GRC professional, keynote speaker. His areas of practice are what many of the CS have just read in books. In the past few years, he has also been advising in the emerging areas of technology such as AI, blockchain, cloud computing and cyber security and big data. He has regularly spoken on these domains in the national and international forums. He is a faculty for DISA, CISA and course on blockchain technology. He has authored more than 4 books for ICAI, KSCA, etc. on technology. He has often addressed the ISACA international conferences at Asia, Europe, Africa, North America and was often amongst the top rated and youngest speaker. He has spoken at international conferences at Dubai, Malaysia, Bangkok, Saudi Arabia, Geneva, Doha, Nairobi, Singapore, Nigeria, Bahrain and many more countries. He has been identified as one of the top 10 influential consulting leaders 2020 and annual recognition for torchbearers in the consulting sphere by CEO Insights magazine. Thank you.
A very good morning. Thank you so much for the kind introduction. Thank you so much for this wonderful gesture. And today I bring to you a very, very interesting topic. A topic where everybody is speaking in the world. Digitization. The entire world is saying we have to digitize, you have to digitize, you have to digitize. What to digitize, they're not saying. That's the other part of the story. Right from the time we start our very first activity in the morning. Earlier it was Prabhate Kara Darshanam. Today it is Prabhate Mobile Darshanam. Right? And we have so many apps, so many notifications. We are actually losing all over these things. And we are having a very, very interesting time if you ask me. Why? The way the entire world, especially after the pandemic, has changed to something dramatic. Your competitor for Netflix is not Amazon Prime. It is a person's sleep. If I'm able to win over a person's sleep, even by 30 minutes, if I'm able to extend his sleep, Netflix has won the market. Likewise for Amazon Prime or any other OTT platform. You look into a very interesting analogy which, the CEO of Mercedes brought up. He said, I am not able to sell a Mercedes car because many of the upper middle class prefer to invest in equity SIPs and not in a Mercedes car. A very interesting argument. Which means the spend pattern of a person today has changed to where he sees value. And that is the trigger point for us to think in terms of our digitization. In terms of, hopefully this works.
Here. Address it here.
This way? Okay. Thank you. No. Okay, we'll leave it there. So this is where technology sometimes becomes very interesting, right? It will work at all the time, exactly when the time it's supposed to work, it will not work. Just like our minds, it will work 24/7 until we go to an exam hall, right? It always gets stuck, right? So I thought I'll take you through 4 broad areas in the interest of time and in the interest of, the small gathering which we have, right? First, I'll take you through what is the state of affairs, what all the MSMEs go through. And when I consider as MSMEs, there are of course chartered accountants here, the members from industry, there are entrepreneurs, first generation, second generation, third generation entrepreneurs. The challenges each of us go through are some of them which I've tried to summarize. Second, why digitization is so important, and this is the right time. This is the right time, right? And what do I digitize and what is next? So those are a few things which I want to take you through. This is the current state of affairs, and as the image says, all of us are loading. Why? Somewhere somebody would have said that, hey, let us digitize this, or let us use one software here, let us bring up this thing here. And we would have started the journey and halfway left it. An example is, suddenly you heard one session and you got interested to download one app. You downloaded that. That 2 hours you spent extremely on that app to identify the features, this, that. After that it's forgotten. It's mostly like the advice which our teachers and parents or mentors would have given, right? That day and the next day we feel very, very energetic towards it. Afterwards there's no more. Forget that. The best part is the New Year resolution. Most of the time, the January first week, the parks are always filled. After that, parks are as always normal, right? So what am I speaking about the current state of affairs? Yes, please. The first question which every entrepreneur asks, where did my profits go? I am earning, I am struggling, I am having so many transactions, but where did my profits go? Right? If I have to probably look into it, every 20th, probably some of you yesterday, or 22nd, 23rd, depending on how the regulation is, you have to pay your GST, and you look into your bank balance, the common question is just, sir, so much GST you have to pay. Right? Let's take one step ahead. Every quarter there is a CA who sends an intimation of advance tax. Sir, income illa yen sir tax madodu. Right? So that's another interesting argument which is presented. Next, every September when I file the income tax return, additional tax also I have to pay. Some people call it a self-assessment tax. We don't understand what it is. Some tax I have to pay. I just paid one tax on September 15th. Again you are asking to pay on September 30th. Right? And the best part, sir, you are saying so much profit I earned, but in my bank balance nothing is there. All of us go through this, right? All of us, these are all common thought, right? And not to forget the standalone expenses which keep on occurring every month. I have salaries to pay, I have rent to pay, I have my PT, EF, ESI, I don't know, whatever ABC. Tomorrow new tax comes, I have to pay everything. But the real question is, where did my money go? Right? Let's move on. If I give typically a balance sheet or a P&L statement, right? It looks something like this. A lot of information is there, but towards the end it says a profit of 1 lakh rupees you have earned for the month, for the quarter, whatever it is, for a period, let us say. So you feel very, very happy, I have made a profit of 1 lakh rupees. The next question is, where is this 1 lakh? Right? Let's see where that 1 lakh goes. Because my bank balance is exactly like this. I don't have anything. I'm completely blank. Me in an exam hall. Or me the first time I met my girlfriend or my spouse or whatever, to be spouse, right? Completely blank, right? And that is exactly how my bank balance is. But if I look one step backwards, or just take one step ahead, the first question which all of us probably should ask ourselves is, did I even analyze another document called as a balance sheet? Right? Because most of the time when we give it to entrepreneurs, their analysis is how much my profit. But just take one step ahead after looking into the profit, look into a very, very important document called as a balance sheet, which people call it as statement of affairs and whatever not, right? And if you see the balance sheet, this is how it look like. An interesting thing, most of us see a balance sheet only as on a particular date. A balance sheet should never be seen on a particular date. It should be seen what is the delta between the periods. And when you see the delta between the periods, you realize what is the change. And if you look very, very carefully into this balance sheet towards the toe end, it says your assets has gone up by 76,000. Whatever, dollars, rupees, whatever currency, don't bother. Month, per quarter, it's not the question. Your assets have gone up by 76,000. That means you earned a profit of 117 or 100 and whatever, 110. Your profit, your balance sheet has actually gone over there and sit. And if you do a little more detailed analysis, you will realize your bank balance has increased, some other thing has come down. So many analysis you can perform. I'm not going to the intricate figure. Right? And many a times we don't realize my debtor balance has completely shot up. And these debtors are those guys who actually are my customers who need to give me the money. Fantastic. But are they giving the money? They have a credit period. They have a long history. We have to follow. There are bad debts. So there's a whole lot of cycles involved within that. Right? And not to forget, you have your GST refunds, income tax refunds, tax credits and whatnot. So all your money is actually gone and stuck there. Let's move ahead. This is just one side of the balance sheet. Right? You have the other side of balance sheet. Your liabilities have fallen down in this particular context by 30,000 odd rupees. Which means what? I had an increase of an asset of 70. My liabilities have decreased. That means I earned so much money that I was able to repay my liabilities, which is fantastic for a business. Right? But if I analyze both of this, and this is where my profit is actually gone. This is where my profit is. My assets have shot up. My liabilities have come down, and that delta is what it is. Now within this comes the various elements of your drawings, your salary, your proprietor salary, whatever you can call it. Now why am I bringing up this very, very fundamental thing, right? Many of us do not realize that this is the fundamental of business. The ego unte moment comes in. Yes or no? Because never look into a business purely from a balance sheet and a P&L angle. It will never give you any sort of results. You must be wondering, why am I speaking about digitization and what is connected to this? Hang on, I'm just connecting the dots. Because nothing is more important to a business than its own finances, than its own very accounting principle. And that if cannot get digitized, my dear friends, the entire digitization journey will fail. Right? I can talk about using robots, I can talk about using cobots. Cobots are robots and human beings working together. I can talk about cyborgs. All of those things are very nice to hear. But reality is, what is in for me? What is it that I can do tomorrow if I go? That is the focus point for us, I think we have to focus on. And therefore, if you go to the next slide, your profit will never reflect in the bank account. It is because of these reasons. It is appropriated, you have invested, you have put into some other case, right? It is invested in assets, repayment of loans, liabilities, lot of these things. And how will an entrepreneur sense this? How will an MSME get to know this? Unless you have your accounting up to date. Hey, hang on. I have other things to remember. A GST is not paid from your pocket. You are merely doing a postman job, transferring from one to another. Why are we using that for working capital? It's an incorrect thing, right? And look at TDS. Many of them presume TDS, that our customer is deducting tax and therefore that's an expense for me. No. Instead of you paying taxes to the government, he is paying on your behalf. So therefore it's no longer an expense. That means it's a cash flow item. And not to forget, a debtor outstanding is always nice in the books, but it is better when he comes as cash. Now, why am I talking about these very, very prudent and basic fundamentals of accounting? Because this is where today, if you look into most of the business, they don't have track of it. I'll give a simple example. You open your debtor ledger. When do you know, or do you know when your debtor made the last payment or your customer made the last payment? What is your customer outstanding history? The answer is no. Do I know when to make my payment to my creditors? Yes, whenever I have funds. And when do I have funds? I will never have funds. As a result, the entire cycle, it's a vicious circle. And what is an example of a vicious circle? Simple. My girlfriend is afraid of cockroach. Right? My girlfriend is afraid of cockroach. Cockroach is afraid of something else. Something else is afraid of something else. And that something else is afraid of a human being, which is me. And I am afraid of my girlfriend. Over. It's a vicious cycle. One impact on one end impacts the whole ecosystem. And the simple rule which you can solve over here is bringing in the stability. Right? Let's see how this entire setup works. Cash flow, my dear friends, is the real king in the entire business. And frankly, look into it. When was the last time you looked into your cash flow statements? The most common answer is cash flow is not applicable to MSMEs according to Accounting Standard 3. Right? This is where the challenge is. Right? And most of the time, please move on. Most of the time, the P&L account is seen on September 30th. When? Just before it is uploaded to the income tax website. Agree? Reality? Now, why a whole lot of these problems are actually coming in? It is because the root cause is very, very simple. The line which you see below is actually the root cause. Your financial and accounting systems are not up to date. I'll simply put it that way. Are not up to date. And not how up to date? No sir, last month accounting is pending is still okay. Sir, last year accounting is pending is a problem. Right? And this is where the first mantra of digitization comes into picture. Streamlining your accounts and finance. I'll speak about a few practical tips. Tools are hundreds are available, sir. Tools are hundreds. Today you buy one product, tomorrow you can buy another product. Right? The question is, when I speak about digitization, it is first in the mind, then in action. If mind itself is not clear, action will never take place. Because you will say, this tool is good, you will buy that. How many days you will use? 14 days. Why? 14-day free trial is there. 15th day, hey, I have to pay for this, don't bother. 16th day, one more tool came. Start that. And where did we land? Nowhere. Right? And this is where most of the reasons, and this is not a phenomenon only with us, let me tell you. Entire globe runs on the same thing. You look into any of the global conferences where MSME, they talk about not macro trends, micro trends. Micro trends. Macro trends, everybody will say MSME is the backbone, this, that, all of those things. Micro problems are this. What is it? The whole and the sole purpose is your financial systems are actually not giving you the data which you want. Right? But how do I prepare it? How do I get better insights? And this is where, my dear friends, I'm telling you, digitization is the need. And it starts with the most easiest and the most simple thing. Why do I say it's the most easiest and the most simple thing? Sir, you already know your entire transactions which are occurring. Right? You don't require a third or an independent somebody else who have to come and say, hey, this, that. You already know your line of business. Okay, the smaller nuances you may not be aware, but you are aware of it. And how do you bring up into a digital platform? That is where the focus is. So why digitization is becoming so very important is something which the entire world is speaking. The reality is this. You agree? Today, this kid is asking, why don't you give me a wireless, painless treatment? My dear friends, look exactly 3 to 5 years down the lane. We are talking about an era of entrepreneurs who are very, very tech savvy, who want everything in a click of a button, who is amplifying everything. They are the Instagram generation where they will make a small thing, put it into a reel, nothing wrong in it. But if your finance and accounting is not so very clear, let me tell you, you will not even have money to pay the internet bill for making your Insta reels. And that is the hard reality. Why? Most of us aspire that I am on this side, I want to grow big. When you're looking into the bigger picture, the smaller things are often forgotten, and that is the reason which I want to focus on. Yes, sir. And many of us think, oh, digitization, tomorrow only I will buy all the products, all the this thing, everything sample, I will buy it. You will only land up with 10 days just browsing the products, doing nothing. Because digitization depends on these 4 or 5 factors. The nature of entity of yours. It could be a service sector, it could be a manufacturing sector. It could be something to do with export of garments, it could be something to do with local produce. I had very, very interesting case. A month back when we had a very interesting conversation, I'd been to a textile belt. And there, the company is scaling up so well and they have a very, very standardized system. Very happy. But they said, sir, tomorrow when we scale from a B2B to B2C, I do not have systems available. Yes, because a B2C is a very, very profitable game. But it requires a lot of streamlining of process. A simple example, you are manufacturing a beautiful product, you are selling it to another business entities, they are consuming, they are marketing, etc. But there your margins are 10 to 20% or 5 to 8%, depends on the project and stuff. But if you look into B2C, that's where your margins are. Today this is a very, very fancy concept in the startup world called as D2C, direct to consumer. Any fellow who reaches directly to the consumer is called as a D2C market, direct to consumer. Today we are talking about fancy words. Why are they considered to be so very profitable? The reason is because they are mitigating all the channels and directly going to the customer. There is no longer the concept of a retail commission or whatever. Or there are some hidden charges which is definitely there, but my growth potential, my margin potential are high. Now if that has to work, you need to have a robust financial systems and transaction systems. That is where the core of it is. The whys are all answered here. You need to answer or you need to keep track of the things in a fast-paced world. Very important. Second, real-time insights are need of the hour. Real-time insights, alerts, right? You need to move from a process, you need to move from a people-oriented to a process-oriented. A simple example, I'm sure in every place there is this famous Darshini or the famous SLV hotel. But the beauty or unfortunate thing of the SLV hotel is, it will serve only in that location, and if the chef or somebody else is leave, you will realize the taste is deficient. But you go to a McDonald's or Domino's, wherever you go in India, the taste will be same. Why? Process standardization. The person who is making a McDonald's burger or a Domino's pizza is not the best of the chef. In fact, he or she may not even have entered a kitchen. But he knows what proportion, what you need to use, and that's exactly where digitization comes into play. Defining the processes, right? Focus on the core. What is your core expertise? Focus on that. Your digitization will take care of the rest, right? Remotely you can monitor from anywhere. No more extension economics. Why? Because gone are the days where we said that okay, September 30th deadline will get extended by October will get to November. No. Today we are talking about a government which is very, very strict, and I feel in a lot of sense it makes actually a reality. Otherwise, my September work gets completed in March. We are talking about the previous year. What happened to the current year? Yes or no? And this is where all of this becomes very handy. So the next important question is, what do I digitize? So you said everything you have to digitize. What do I digitize? Start off with your accounting. Your automation of accounting. Now, most of us pay vendors whenever we feel like that is the biggest problem. What most of the largest corporate companies do, very simple. Every Wednesday or every alternate Wednesday is the payment for vendors. Advantage, all your accounting at one go you have it. Today what we do, vendor came, okay sir, Google Pay scanner print. Go to online banking, send. Go to some other method, send. Simply avoid this. A single day on which all payments get. And until that day, aggregate all the transactions. A very, very simple rule. 1st to the 10th of the month, all the invoices accumulate. 12th, make the payment. 10th to or 11th to 20th, whatever is there, this is the date. 20th to 30th, this is the date. Salary, this is the date. Put off, cut off lines. Unless we draw that line of discipline within us, this will not work. Second, invoice and collections. Keep a specific day on which you want to mandatorily invoice. Or have a specific hour in the day in which you want to reconcile your invoices, your collections. If you have accountants, ask them what is your collection, how have you collected, is that receivable done? Have a robust receivable and a collection management system. And last, taxes and reconciliation. Be very, very clear. What you earn 30% does not belong to you. Okay, slab rates might differ. At the end of the day, what you earn 30% does not belong to you. What I get a benefit for 30%, those are not discussion points. I am talking about what you are ought to do. Right? So 30% does not belong to me. Of course, 10% goes off as TDS in certain cases, 2% in case of some other line of business. The balance is basically what you need to set aside, and be very clear. How many of us have prepared a simple cash forecast budget? I think those are the need of the hour. Right? Compare. Every Sunday configure a report in your system that it will send you at this time a profit and loss report, a comparison report, a variance report, very 2 or 3 simple. Don't, with overdose, don't configure everything, you will not read anything. Right? This is like, the moment you heard of a new app or a new technology, all of us go and subscribe. When the mail comes, nobody bothers to read. Right? So therefore, configure to those which is reality and spend time onto it. Plan your tax payments, your cash outflows, your forecast, your working capital, your expansion, and this is where a whole lot of digital solutions are available today to help you out with. Right? Let's move on. Accounting automation. There are so many things which can be done in accounting automation. In the interest of time, I'll just pick up a few of them. Right? You can use what is called as a concept called macros. These are Excel based or simple standardized solutions. And today, writing a macro is even more easy. Right? And let me tell you, we are in the era of artificial intelligence. Right? There's a very interesting app which is, especially in the last 3 weeks, it has made a lot of buzz. What is the name of that? ChatGPT. If you have not created an account there, please go ahead and create. It will give you answer to almost anything and everything in the world. I am not saying the answer is correct. I said it will give you an answer. I never said it will give a correct answer. It will give you some indication. Use that. Apply the human intelligence. Remember, a machine can never overtake the sense or the capability of a human mind. But what artificial intelligence can do is empower you to do better and faster. I had to send a proposal, and it was the first time I am doing a proposal for a particular company in a particular industry. I had no clue about the industry. All that I did is I went to ChatGPT, wrote about multiple commands and texts, got all the responses for my proposal, validated by calling up the person and saying, hey, generally this is how it is done, how do you do it? The client understood that I am more knowledgeable. How did I get the knowledge? AI. Right? And I validated every process and every understanding. The client says, oh yeah, this is how it is done, sir, but this is what we don't do. My gap report was ready. Right? While I am writing my proposal itself, I already have my audit report ready. What more I want? And this is the era of intelligence we are speaking of. Right? OCR recognition, or using an API based enabled software which can integrate with your e-invoicing and all of those things. Let me tell you the future. I'm going to tell you, my dear friends, when e-invoicing becomes mandatory for every line of business, the government will literally get to know every product which you manufacture and sell. So your half accounting is done there itself. Why? Because today my sale is recorded. I have to mention to whom I am purchasing, who is purchasing from me. So therefore, if I purchase from somebody else, he will mention my GST number. My sales, purchase, everything is recorded. Only what I require is salary. Your P&L account is ready. And today you can download the GST dump, use a software, click a button and import into Tally, Zoho Books, QuickBooks, or I don't know whatever accounting software is there. So manual mechanism of accounting is going to disappear. Yes. We're talking about cloud accounting, contextual integration, integration with banking, APIs. I pass a journal entry in my accounting software, my payment gets processed through my bank parallelly. Right? We're talking about all of those. Right? Voice interface. Okay, Tally. Okay, Zoho. Okay, ABC. Can you tell me what is my P&L account? We are talking about that era. We are having softwares like this which can automate your very process of data entry. You put in a format, click a button, it will go. Right? We are talking about a lot of innovations there, and these are just a few examples to say about tools. Cloud accounting, one of the most commonly used, and the reason why I say Zoho Books is earlier we had QuickBooks. QuickBooks is out of business in India. There are of course other players also. There's a Make in India solution as well. Yeah. A host of these things. I'm not sure how many of them have tried this. Some of these softwares are available for free. Beauty. Invoicing. Zoho Invoicing is available for free. The beauty of Zoho Invoicing, it will help you to track your entire receivable management, GST, how much you need to pay, basic things. Right? And it's available for free. And let me tell you, today so many companies are coming up with their own apps and their own solutions that tomorrow technology or a software solution itself will be majoritarily available free. So those free, we need to understand how to use it for our betterment more. These are a host of other cloud-based or on-the-go accounting softwares which are available. This is just one example, right? And there are much more. Next, a classical example is a Power BI. This is where your analytics and dashboards are configured, your real-time insights. And I'll show you a small, I think I have a clip of that. You can just click next, yeah. Just click somewhere in the center of the screen. This is a simple dashboard, right, about a business's progress. I can get to know how much is my receivables, what is the date, right? Alter the period, my report dynamically changes, right? And I can go click on any of these reasons. How many of them are 0 to 30 days overdue? How many of them? What is the date of my invoice? What is my branch-wise, location-wise? Right? Double click on one, get to know so much details. And the beauty is, this is available even onto mobile phone. Go to the next screen, please. It's also available. Click once more, please. Yeah, it's available on the mobile phone. A simple app like this. Right? So today, technology is just a mobile phone away. But the reality is, this looks very fancy, and tomorrow if I have to implement and I want to get a report, you will not get it. Because your transactions have to be streamlined. And only then you get real-time reporting. Right? Then the other thing which probably is of interest, right? What are the areas to digitize? Your operational processes. Many of the operational processes requires digitization, movement of inventory, manufacturing process A to process B to process C. And this is where these are handy tools which you can get started. Simple preparing SOPs, operating documents, risk matrices, right? So these are all simple things which actually can trigger that. Auditing the process is something which you have to remember. And not to forget, the Indian MSMEs are known for their innovation. I think you need to bring up that more, right? Use digital to bring up newer products, innovate. You see something very fancy in Instagram or in some of those things. Why don't you think that the Indian product can actually go ahead and do it? Go ahead and try. Right? There are so many websites. I think we were, in the inaugural session, they said that that we have so many so-called China products which is available. Why can't we bring up our own products? It is 100% possible. Very simple problem they just try to solve, right? And this is where the beauty is. Steve Jobs made a very, very nice statement, and it's called as immovation. It's not innovate. The third line, the third word, it is immovate. What is immovate? Imitate plus innovate. Copy from somebody, but make your own version of it, right? Make your own variant of it, right? And today, Desi products are solving so many problems, and today we call them as the Great Indian Jugaad. I'll just show you an example of a Great Indian Jugaad. This is in one of the hotels, split AC. Split AC. It's literally split, sir. It's literally split, right, between two things. And I'm just talking about innovation in not exactly in this sense, but similar thoughts, so many things we have, right? And you have seen that movie called Three Idiots. That one of those last scenes where every product which you see, like a bike in behind, the wheel is being modified for something else. Now, why am I speaking about all of these? You have simpler solutions to solve larger complex problems, right? And I'll give you a simple example. This is an actual story which took place. In America, one of the soap manufacturing company, when they sold a product, soap box, right? A box was sold without the soap into it. A consumer, probably paid about $100, $50. He bought that soap. Only to his surprise, he opened inside There was no soap, it was just a box. What did he do? He went to the court of law and filed a case. For whatever reasons. I was depressed, I was deprived, whatever all those stories he said, and he fell and filed a case. And the court awarded him a sort of a relief by saying the company had to pay him, let's say $100,000. The company said, there's too much of a money and I need to avoid this. They did everything possible and they finally came up with an X-ray machine before the product is coming out. It will scan through and see whether the soap is there or not. And they spent another $5 million for that. The same problem came in India. This fellow got to know that somebody has filed a case there, I will also file a case. He filed a case. Court said, no problem, you have been disturbed, no problem, repay the amount of the soap cost. 10 rupees was repaid. Forget 1 million, 10 rupees. Okay, some extra damages, 1000 rupees, 2000 rupees, whatever. Now obviously they asked the company, what will you do to avoid? Right? Not that they didn't want to pay 10 or 20 rupees, but for them the concern was brand. He said, okay fine, in America they brought one X-ray machine, $5 million, let us bring it over here. Our MSME entrepreneur said, nothing doing. Keep one big fan at the exit of that place. Switch on that fan. The moment the fan is on, with full wind, right? If it's an empty box, it will fly away. If it has the soap, it will continue. Problem solved. How much? 5,000 rupees. And this is the great Indian jugaad or mentality. And we are for that, sir. We are for that. You think about yourself. The smallest of the things we would have done innovation. The smallest of the things we would have done innovation. And this is where you need to productize the innovation in a better fashion. Right? That is where MSMEs will have to get into. Right? And we are talking about moving to the era of intelligence. Right? How do I adopt to AI? There are a bunch of these AI adoption tools. These are just a few examples of AI inbuilt accounting tools available. Some of them are US, some of them are UK, some of them are Europe, some of them are India. Combination scenario exists today. Right? Era of AI. Not to forget. The latest, yeah. I'm not sure how many of them, you have to make presentations, you have to make reports. Your Microsoft suite, PowerPoint itself has got so many things. And by the way, my slides are not designed by me, my AI engine designs it for me. I only type the text. I just go to Microsoft PowerPoint and say, design this, it automatically creates it. I don't design any of my PowerPoints. Right? If you felt that this PowerPoint is very, very nice, thank you, it's because of my AI engine. Right? Excel has got so many inbuilt features. Microsoft Word has got so many inbuilt features. Let's move on. Outlook has got so many features. Let's quickly move on. And this is the newest fellow in the market, ChatGPT. Just out of curiosity, I asked him a message, how do you prepare biryani? Right? It gave me so much. And it told you, do you want to choose veg biryani or non-veg biryani also? Being a vegetarian, I chose that. Right? Other fellows can obviously choose whatever it is, right? So options are plenty in an era where we are talking about AI coming into play. So what is next for me? The last segment of my presentation, right? Increase your digital presence. Increase your digital presence. Very, very important. How do I increase your digital presence? Right? Yeah, just keep on clicking next. Website. How many of them have a website? Relook into it. How many of them have a search engine optimization? You can click up. Yeah. How many of them have search engine optimization? Basically optimizing your website so that if somebody searches, your name comes. Simple example. You search in website Ola taxi. Who is the first taxi you will get? Uber. You type in website Ola taxi. The first fellow who will appear in your website searches Uber. Because that is how they have optimized the web search. If anybody types Ola, first you will get Uber. Then what happens? Anybody types Uber, first you'll get Ola. Right? So that's how your search engine can be optimized. Your email communication, blogging, speak, webinars, CRMs, online service, mobile apps. There are hundreds of things which you can actually go ahead and do. Right? So this is how one of the ways in which you can, see how you can best use digital presence. Right? And the second very interesting thing, embrace social media. I've seen a lot of these MSME entrepreneurs, I've seen literally, right? He has 3 or 4 YouTube videos. He has one mobile phone with WhatsApp business, WhatsApp for business. For your information, WhatsApp for business is different from WhatsApp. If you're not aware, go and explore that. It has so many inbuilt features. You can create catalogs. And let me tell you, that fellow, being a 2-member show, has 10 lakh rupees revenue in e-commerce, delivering products. Any fellow who calls up, he's just kept one IVR number. If you want this particular product, say yes. If you want this particular product, say yes. If you have any other clarification, mention your details. If you press 1, within 2 minutes your message will come from WhatsApp. Very, very simple integration, sir. No complicated this thing. In that all your product, videos, features, everything will come. And after that you will go and click that link. What do you get? Payment option. Then your address, your product gets delivered. Right? So we are talking about embracing technology to such an extent that today it is all available. And I just have one more slide. Is it out of battery? So the biggest moment, just like how our screens become blank, right? Our minds also sometimes have to become blank so that we start afresh. And that's the most important thing, let me tell you my dear friends. It all starts from you when it comes to digitization. So my key message, ignore the slides. My key message is, A, if you are bringing anything to digitization, it's to start with you, leadership. You need to have the ability, you need to have that mindset, you need to have that thought process. B, adopting technology. Where can I use technology and how can I use technology? C, ensuring you have the resources, especially people. It could be juniors, it could be seniors, it could be, way higher, right? That is the third thing. And fourth, processes. Processes, right? I spoke of leadership, I spoke of talent, I spoke of processes. Processes basically defining standardized process. Come what may, this is the protocol I need to follow. And last but not the least is technology. Remember, technology is there only to make you better, not to make you a slave of it. Right? On that note, my key message, the last message you can just probably try to listen. It's working, not working? Yeah, we'll just come back. The previous one. The key message is this. Peter Drucker, one of the famous management guru, he says a very, very important line. Culture eats strategy for breakfast. You may have made your best of your plans, best of your expansion, best of your thought process. But if the culture is not there from the entrepreneur or from the accountant or the senior management, your entire strategy will go for toss. And therefore, today, let me tell you, India is the cusp of innovation, and we spoke about $25 trillion, $50 trillion, I don't know how many other $1 trillion. But most importantly, if there was a time to be in India, it is now. If there was a time for MSMEs, it is now. And if there was a time to digitize, the time is now. Thank you so much.
Hands together for this gentleman. Thank you, sir, for an enlightening and entertaining presentation on the right way to go with digitization. We appreciate having these mysterious areas clarified in such simple way with easy examples. Now I request CA Sinam Bhatt sir to give him a memento, which is like token of appreciation and gratitude.
Will be given by CAK Gurraj Acharya from Bangalore. His topic of discussion will be statutory compliances for MSMEs and startups. I request Anil Bharadwaj to please introduce this great personality.
Mr. CAK Gurraj Acharya on the dais. It's a great pleasure for me to introduce such a renowned personality. Pustakadi doretarivu mastakadi tadeda mani chittadolu bedadarivu tarutadeda pushpa vastu sakshatkara antarikshಣೆಯಿಂದ ಶಾಸ್ತ್ರಿತನದಿಂದಲ್ಲ ಮಂಕುತಿಮ್ಮ is a great 4-line poem that suits very much for the renowned and distinguished guest here. The meaning of this Kagga I will tell you at the end. In fact, you can understand yourself once I tell out his achievements. Mr. CAK Gurraj Acharya hails from the temple town Udupi, brought up in Iron City, Ballari, and is now settled in Knowledge City, Bangalore. We feel very proud that Mr. K. Gururaj Acharya has grown in Iron City, our own city, Ballari. That's why he is a steel man, we can say. He qualified as a chartered accountant after completing articles under Guru Prasad and Co. He is presently the senior partner of Messrs. K.G. Acharya and Co. Chartered Accountants, Bangalore, and he is specialized in corporate finance, corporate taxes, and company law. The great personality has achieved first rank in his BCom, 21st rank in CA Inter, and 10th rank in CA Finance. He has also done ICWI, and I am very happy to share that he has got the first rank in ICWI Inter and third rank in CA Finance. By now you would have understood why I told that Kagga, Pustakadi Doretarivu Mastakadi Taledamani. So he is expert in book knowledge also. He has achieved the wonderful things in his academics also, that has been given as a crown on his head. Mastakadi Taledamani, Chittadolu Bedadarivu Tarutalada Pushpa. Just because he has achieved good things in the academics, it did not stop there. He has jumped into the subject very deep and analyzed it practically, and today he is here to tell us what practically we have to achieve and what theoretically we have to read and understand. Both are very important, theoretical as well as practical aspect. This dual aspect only supports or helps any person to achieve things in life, and he is a role model for all of us. And other achievements of his, he is currently the board of directors, one of the directors of Karnataka Bank. He was the director of State Bank of Mysore, SBM, was a member of Karnataka State Level Audit Advisory Board, was a co-opted member of Expert Advisory Committee and Committee of Accounting Standards for local bodies by ICAI New Delhi, was a member of Financial Reporting Review Group formulated at a Financial Reporting Review Board of ICAI New Delhi, authored a book titled Internal Financial Control, Practical Handbook on Audit Report on What Can Go Wrong, published by Karnataka State Chartered Accountants Association, and he is also the resource person on accounting standards, standards on auditing, Companies Act 2013 and LLP, corporate finance and financial analysis, corporate tax and tax audit. And his achievement goes on like this. If I only tell his achievement, he may not have time to explain about the topic today. So I stop at this juncture and hand over the mic to him and dash to him, and it is pleasure for all of us to listen for another 1 hour from the distinguished faculty today. Thank you very much, sir.
I should only say that business stands on 3 legs. Business, every business for that matter, be it an MSME or a large entity, stands on 3 legs. I put the stool like this. The first leg is called production. The second leg is called finance. The third leg is called marketing. So it is not a 4-legged chair that we will be comfortably sitting always, but in business it's always 3 legs. Now you're sitting on a 3-legged chair, you should try. Now you may tilt and fall. That's how the balancing happens in business. The next question that I ask is, which is the most important leg of the business? Production, finance, or marketing? You're all MSME. I mean, I know there's some chartered accountants too, budding MSMEs and also people who are in the micro and small enterprises. Which do you think is the most important leg? Production, finance, or marketing? Now, I will tell you one thing, that all the 3 are equally important. If the question is like this, which of the 2 eyes are more important to you? Which are the 2 eyes are more important to you? But having said that, I can at least in this particular question answer it probably authoritatively to say, if somebody said finance is important, maybe sir, in your business finance is slightly lacking. If somebody says production is important, then production facilities are not up to the mark. And somebody says marketing, both the things are there, marketing is missing. Why I said is, please understand, in any business, it is marketing which is most important. If you do not have the marketing, production and finance are just raw materials. And Peter F. Drucker, one of the main famous management guru, went on to say that in business, it is only marketing and innovation which is very important. Marketing and innovation which is very important. Everything else is a cost to the company. Everything else is a cost to the company. Now, why did I talk about marketing to begin with without acknowledging any of the organizers? Just to say that Anil Desai did a fantastic job of marketing me more than what I am. The product is one thing, marketing is another thing. You know, when he was explaining about Anil Bharadwaj took a fantastic, the product was sitting there. I told that the product has to be sitting there. And the product was there. He explained it in so beautiful words that I only said, where is the product? He was talking about me. So Bharadwaj, you did a great job of marketing. In fact, this is what has to be there as a entrepreneurial blend. Marketing and innovation. Marketing and innovation backed by what Narasimhan talked about, technology. If you are not technologically savvy, you are as good as illiterate. You are as good as illiterate. Now let me come to thanking the Bellary branch of CIRC. No, that's what they were talking about, of ICAI, which is conspicuously missing there, jointly with Hubli and Belgaum branch. Thank you for inviting me. But the best thing is I have to leave at 12, so I will stop at 12. Okay? So having said that, the topic that I am talking today is on statutory compliances for MSMEs and startup. Now, what is an MSME? I would like to get into the details.
It's there, it is, you have not seen it.
Okay, so the definition of MSME, I explained it in the last evening. One is the turnover based, the other one is the investment based. What is priority sector lending? I have my friends from the banking fraternity here. They will all tell you that as a banker, the deposits that I have is a liability. I have to advance that, that is my asset. Out of the total advances, 40% of my total advances have to be towards priority sector lending. 40% of that has to be towards priority sector lending, out of which we have sub-priority of 18% towards agriculture, 7.5% towards micro enterprises. Now that is the subsector which we have to. In case the bankers don't adhere to this rule, I will have to keep that money in an RIDF, right? It's a specific investment where I get only a 3 to 4% return. So which we lose actually. It's a penalty to the banker if they don't lend it to the priority sector. That is why the bankers keep on saying that please lend it to the priority sector. And this happened to be a priority sector, including the traders. The traders wouldn't get any other advantage of the MSME, but to the limited extent of priority sector lending, they do get that. Now what is also, please understand, if you are a turnover of, let us say, 7 crores, whether you are a micro or a small, by this definition, you are small because you have breached 5 crores. Let me tell you, out of that 7 crores, if 3 crores happens to be in exports, then your turnover is 4 crores. The domestic turnover is 4 crores. So what has to be considered here is only domestic turnover and not the export turnover. Similarly, in terms of investments, what has to be looked after is the return on value of the investment. Earlier, sir, when we were reading the small scale industries chapter, it was a gross investment in plant and machinery. Now it is the return on value. So every year, from the income tax return, the Udyam website will pick it up and say whether you are a small, medium or a large enterprise. So having said that, the definition of startup, I'm sure all of you know, up to a period of 10 years, from the date of incorporation, either as a company or as a LLP, or please understand, even a partnership firm a simple partnership firm registered with the register of firms could also be a startup. Here I have to just say that the benefit in income tax is not applicable to a registered partnership firm. It is applicable only to a company or a LLP, but for all other purposes, even a registered partnership firm could also be covered under startups. Now, turnover for the entity for the financial year should not exceed, in any year, for the first 10 years, they will be considered as startup, provided the turnover is not going to be beyond 100 crores. In any year, if it crosses 100 crores, they cease to be a startup. And what is the advantage of a startup? There are a lot of advantages which I will tell you. Not only first 10 years, not only 100 crores, they also have to have additional qualification, which is innovation, development or improvement of products or processes or services. You will have to prove that these elements are present, or if they are not present, another interesting thing which you can take into account is it is a scalable business model. A business model which can be scalable, which has a potential to improve your turnover with a high potential of employment generation. I am providing more employment, that itself is sufficient, or wealth creation. Could be subjective, but one can take a route under this particular definition to get the benefit of it. One of the important benefits is income tax in a startup. For the first 10 years, any 3 years out of the 10 years, he need not pay income tax at all under section 80 IAC. So that is the best advantage. So please take advantage of this. But there are certain additional conditions attached to that. You should also be registered with the DICR. I will come to that. So provided that an entity formed by splitting up or reconstruction of an existing business shall not be considered as a startup. You are already having a business. You cannot split that business and start. So that is also a condition attached. So there are a lot of advantages. Fast tracking and rebates on applications for intellectual property. Advocate Holla is here, he will be talking on intellectual property. So you have fast tracking and rebates on applications. I'm sure, sir, you will be covering that aspect. Access to 10,000 crores FOF, fund of funds. Self-certification under labor and environmental laws. Exemption on investments above fair market value. I mean, we have a section 56, 27B of the Income Tax Act, which says that in case the company collects premium in excess of the fair market value, it will be subject to taxation. That particular section will not be applicable to a startup. Government public procurement eligibility, faster exit for startups. But we always talk about how soon a company can be set up. The unfortunate thing is, what is the time frame by which, in case the company gets into a loss, how fast can I shut down the company? That aspect is somehow ignored in the Indian context, but they have said that for a startup, you have a faster exit for startups. Then there are Startup Hub, a one-stop network for entire startup ecosystem. And then income tax exemption, I talked about 80 IAC, 5627B, and ESOPs. There are certain relaxations for startups. Now, this is the slide where I will be resting my next 25 minutes or 20 minutes. Mr. Nayak, you will understand. I know that Nayak is the ನಾಯಕತ್ವವನ್ನು ತಗೊಂಡಿರುವಂತಹ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ ಇದು. ನಾಯಕರು ಈ ಒಂದು ಸಭೆಗೆ ತುಂಬಾ ಒಂದು ಶ್ರಮ ಪಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ. I know both Nayak and Tandaraj talked to me from Wachau. What our Central Council member Kotashin was mentioned, I think that was in November. The seed for today's program was planted in Mumbai, and they called me and said, you have to come. Then the germination happened in my mind what I should talk for this particular audience, and I said, because I know it's a mixed audience. The difficult thing for a chartered accountant or for any speaker is when he has a mixed audience. So therefore I decided this particular terminology or a coining was very much done somewhere in January 2020, Mr. Nayak, when we spoke for Business Tonic 100th episode, where I spoke on 10 commandments for business. Then I said, let me develop on that and talk about, because I'm talking on statutory compliances, I will talk about 10 commandments on statutory compliances. This is particularly applicable to MSME, generally applicable to any business. Let me now go on to read what the 10 commandments are. The other name of busyness is compliance. Let me elaborate. Now in income tax we go on to say, should we maintain books of accounts? We always say that up to 2 crores you don't have to maintain books of accounts, you declare 8% income tax. That is sufficient. Well, this section 44 AD, section 44 ADA goes on to say for a professional up to 50 lakhs, you show 50% income, you don't have to maintain books of accounts. You don't have to maintain books of accounts is what the income tax says, as long as you are showing a minimum of 8% or 50% as the case may be. But as a businessman, if you follow section 44 AD and 44 ADA, you will be ruined. Let me tell you, you don't have to show the books of accounts to the income tax department, but better maintain books of accounts if you are a businessman. If you think that maintaining books of accounts is difficult, and today of course it is not the red book or the pen and paper book we are talking about, what Mr. Narasimhan talked about, definitely everybody should be digital. Now having said that, if you don't maintain books of accounts, your business from the day one, you cannot start maintaining the books of accounts after you reach 2 crores. So although section 44 AA, and I'm also talking technically for the chartered accountant, says when should you maintain books of accounts. Forget about 44 AA, ADA, DA. It is every businessman. If you are in business, you don't have a choice but to maintain books of accounts. And can you, please understand, if you feel that business is having so much of compliance, then I would say you have other 4 heads. In income tax, we have got 5 heads: salary, salary के बाद house property के बाद business, then capital gains, and then income from other sources. If you choose the 3rd head, you have to be, that is why probably the busy in that busyness is whether you have business or not, you have to be busy, at least compliant. At least compliant. You know how many acts are there? Since Narasimhan, you are there, chat GPT, you can go and check how many central acts are there in India.
It will say message failure.
Probably. Oh my goodness, that is too much for me. It's too much for me. I did that in the Google. You just get 993 central acts. Central acts. And the best part is you will have to know all of them, at least the major of them. I will talk about the compliances. If you do not know, there is one Latin term, ignorantia lexis non excusat. What does it mean? If you don't understand this, ignorance of law is of no excuse. You cannot, take shelter under the heading saying that I did not know the law, so therefore please pardon me. No way. So you have to know, if not the 993 laws, I will list out a few very important laws that every business has to take care of. Therefore I said the other name of business is compliance. You agree with me? If you do not want to comply, you should not be in a business. As simple as that. The next one. Chapter 11 of Bhagavad Gita on Urdhva Mula Madhashakam. It's talking about the big banyan tree. Our roots are not at the bottom, but at the top. So it refers to the big banyan tree. Just like that, I felt that the roots of compliance culture is at the top. You cannot expect the accountant to maintain the compliance when the owner himself is not compliant. Now please understand that it is the owner who has to have the compliance culture, because it flows from there. If the owner is compliant, the accountant will be compliant. The owner cannot say, you come at 10 o'clock and he comes at 11 o'clock. Everything happens as a matter of example by action rather than example by policy or a statement. So the tone at the top is very important when it comes to statutory compliances. The next thing is, bigger the vehicle, bigger the compliance. When we say vehicle, please understand, every business has an option to choose the vehicle. It could be a proprietorship concern, which I call it as riding a bicycle. It could be a partnership firm, which is like a two-wheeler. It could be like a LLP, which could be like an auto, or it could be like a company, which could be like a bus, and if it's a limited company, it could be like a aircraft. So that is the vehicle I'm just trying to compare. Depending on what your objective is, you have to select your vehicle. And you have to be very, very clear when you select what vehicle. Generally, when they come and say, sir, we want to set up a company, the chartered accountants think that company means a private limited company or a public limited firm. So the point is, so much of compliances. When if you see the Companies Act, it is so thick today. It has got, what is Companies Act? Companies Act is a list of do's and don'ts. It's a list of do's and don'ts, mostly don'ts. If you do any one of the don't, the penalty is so much. Let me straight away take you to the penalty in the companies. Maybe useful to the chartered accountants. Not mentioning the sin on the letterhead when the documents are filed with the Register of Companies. What is the sin? What is the sin? They are telling you that forming a company is a sin. Sin is a corporate identification number. Corporate identification number. Not mentioning the sin on the letterhead, there has been a penalty of 5 lakh rupees.
Is a sin. Not mentioning sin is
a sin. Not mentioning company address in the letterhead, 94,000 rupees penalty. Not issuing share certificate within 2 months of the date of allotment, 1.5 lakh rupees penalty. You are supposed to issue share certificates when it comes for transfers within a period of 60 days. Not filing BEN 2, 2.97 lakh crores. Now let me spend some time. What is BEN 2? You formed a company. Who are the shareholders? The shareholders are another company, an LLP or a trust. The moment you have a non-individual as your shareholder, you are supposed to know, you are supposed to inform to the ROC who is the ultimate individual beneficial shareholder who is holding more than 10% in my company. I suppose I am clear. In the ROC says, section 89 and 90 of the Companies Act says that if the shareholder in a company is a non-individual, I have to go to the extent of telling, I have to go beyond the corporate, I have to pierce the corporate wheel and tell who my shareholder is a company. In that company, who is the shareholder? In that company, shareholder A and B. A is holding 50%, B is holding 50%. So I have to say that those people who are holding more than 10% in my company has to be informed through filing BEN 2 to the ROC. Not appointing a company secretary. Not appointing a company secretary. When do we have to appoint a company secretary? Every company, including a private limited company, please note, including a private limited company, if its paid up capital is more than 10 lakh rupees, have to 10 crores. What did I say? Yes. Okay, I just wanted to test you. So if it is the paid up capital is more than 10 crores, you will have to employ a full-time company secretary and he should be called as a key managerial person. Not having such a person within 6 months of reaching the 10 crores, or in case the company secretary resigns, you have another 6 months from the date of his resignation, 5 lakh rupees has been the penalty. Not holding board meeting within 120 days gap between 2 board meetings, 25,000 rupees. Non-maintenance of registered office, 12.23 lakhs.
For board meeting nowadays, they have given the exemption for the small companies.
Yeah, good, fantastic. I am happy that you know that provision. Small companies have been given certain relaxations. The best relaxation is penalty is 50%. Please understand, no waiver of penalty is 50%. Small company means a company whose paid up capital is less than 440. Last year it was 220, now it is 440. Please remember that. 4 crores paid up capital and 50 crores of turnover. If you have a small company, no carry, no cash flow. You mentioned that, I was happy to note that. No cash flow. No cash flow statement to be prepared for a small company because not much cash flows in such a company. Narasimhan. Unfortunate. But please prepare your cash flow. I fully agree with what he said. Every company should keep track of cash flow statement because that is a fact. P&L is only a policy document. You can make your profit up and down. Cash is a fact. So therefore cash flow statement, but for small companies cash flow is exempt. Similarly, your board meetings can be held once in 6 months. That means 2 board meetings as against 4 board meetings applicable to a normal company. There are certain like this, so many other penalties which one has to be aware of. So going back to my bigger the vehicle, bigger the compliance. That's what I wanted to drive home the message. The fourth, please understand this is very difficult for me to explain. Difficulty in compliance is inversely proportional to the size of the organization. It is running slightly antithesis to point number 3. Difficulty in compliance is inversely proportional to the size of the organization. Bigger the organization, it is easier for complying because you have a compliance department to take care of that. When it is a smaller organization, a smaller company, small company may say, where there are only 2 directors and 10 employees, all of them have to be busy doing marketing, production and taking care of the finances. I did not talk about compliance as one important leg. But in a larger organization, you probably have a 4th leg called, in fact in Karnataka Bank, or for that matter any bank, compliance is a very important department, and we have a team of compliance department. Because that is the amount of compliances that we are required to have. When I read it out for so many other people, they were not able to understand. Then I had to tell him the efforts are higher in a larger organization, but the difficulty of complying, because there is a specialist who is telling that what to do and what not to do, it is easier in that sense. Point number 5. Compliance is costly. Compliance is costly. Non-compliance is costlier. Every MSME has to understand this. Maybe for a chartered accountant, I would only tell that please take this 10 commandments to your clients and explain it the way I am explaining. Compliance is costly. Yeah, 10 lakh rupai CSR. You understand CSR? You have to pay CSR, you have to pay CSR. If you don't pay CSR, not only you will have to pay penalty, and you know how much is the penalty? It's a very huge figure. After paying the penalty, you still have to incur CSR. Still have to incur. It's not that this or this. But the very unfortunate point is, in fact, we were interviewing some of the candidates. They said that startups have a very bad culture of not complying. I mean, I'm not talking of the startups here in Bangalore. He was mentioning one of the candidates. I said, why do you want to leave a startup and come to our company? He said, sir, I'm afraid the startups the startups have a cultural, not all startups, some of the, maybe the company in which he worked. He said, sir, this is the company secretary was supposed to tell the board that this is a non-compliance. The board immediately comes back and says, what is the cost of non-compliance? What is the penalty if I have to if I don't do that? It says 10 lakh rupees. He said, provide for that, we will not comply. Please understand, that is a very damaging statement. It is not just 10 lakhs, which you probably could afford to pay. Most of the small companies cannot afford to that also. But a company, even if it is affording to pay 10 lakhs, look at the reputation risk. There's something called an operation risk, a market risk, a risk which we see. It is not 50,000, 5 lakh rupees, especially for a banker, and larger the organization, larger the reputation. So we say that please don't get into that particular culture. So compliance is costly, non-compliance is costlier. Now one of the things that immediately comes to the mind is, how will the government come to know that I am not compliant? Please understand, there are cameras all over the field now. The government knows what you are going to do. 26 AS, AIS, somebody said when you are talking to MSMEs, please tell them about this. So therefore, please understand that this is a statement which is capturing. The moment you say, I have got some cash, I will go and deposit it. Then earlier times, TDS agta ittu. ಈಗ TDS ಆಗ್ಲಿಲ್ಲದ್ರೂ the information goes to the income tax department. Whatever interest is paid, whatever deposits you make, all this information goes to the income tax department. Who gives this information? Now, whoever is the owner of that particular aspect, if it is a bank, if you are registering a property of more than 50 lakh rupees, the sub-registrar will send that information to the income tax department. So you will be thinking that JDA you entered, land kottu, building bantu. So many things I have seen. Duddu exchange agilla, land kotru, building bantu. Please note, at that point there is a sale. You have sold your land and you have bought building against that. So all this information will be captured any transaction, if you put more than 10 lakh rupees cash in an SB account or more than 50 lakh rupees cash transaction in a current account, all these are captured, and cash transactions are supposed to be very bad in the eyes of income tax department. There is something called we have so many reports which go from the STRs, CTRs. Now, CTR may be, it's a central tiffin room in Malleshwaram, but CTR means cash transaction report. STR means a suspicious transaction report. The banker reports all this to the income tax department. So please don't think that naan kannu muchkondu haal kudita idre prapanchakku gottagalla anta heli. In my famous statement in them. So having said that, please understand that the department knows everything about what you are doing. So therefore you better be compliant. Deal with compliant parties, else you suffer. What do you understand by this? GST. Input tax credit. You are when
ಸಗಣಿಯವನೊಂದಿಗೆ ಸ್ನೇಹ ಮಾಡುವುದಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಗಂಧದವನೊಂದಿಗೆ ಗುದ್ದಾಡುವುದು.
Point is, if you are from your supplier's point of view, it is input tax credit. From your customer's point of view, it is your TDS. So both ways, if you are not only you are compliant, also your connected people also must be equally compliant. Otherwise, you suffer. Compliance first, business next. A controversial statement. I don't know how many of you agree with this statement. You agree with this statement?
No.
Compliance first, business next.
Both.
In fact, this was a statement in one of the companies when the statement was made like this by the managing director, saying that compliance first and business next. The board went on against him, saying that is why the business is not growing. You cannot give a reason of compliance first and business next. For a businessman, business is very, very important, and that should be first. Is compliance next? No, never. Business with compliance should be the mantra. I mean, you may have this to begin with, compliance first and business next, but when it comes to real business, it should be business with compliance. Then the next thing is, compliance is better than cure. Compliance is better than cure. I also already gave you an example of CSR. When do you have to incur CSR? Only if you are a company and such a company has any one of these three criteria. Your net profit before tax is more than 5 crores, your turnover is more than 1000 crores, or your net worth is more than 500 crores. Now you may say, sir, I am a small company, I will not have 1000 crores. If the moment you are a 1000 crores, definitely you are not a small company. But a small company could mean 50 crore turnover. You may have a 5 crore profit. We have seen in our practice that possibility of a 5 crore breach is the fastest than the other two conditions. So once you are breached that, you are under an obligation to comply with the CSR. Otherwise, better than cure. Compliance is better than cure. ESI and PF. Please, all the business people, please understand that if you don't pay it by the 15th of the subsequent month, the ESI and PF department are very, very, benevolent. They would only charge you extra interest for the delay. But the income tax department is working like a grandmother of the department of ESI and PF. They are saying that I will not allow that particular expenditure to be allowed in the hands of the assessee, especially for employees' contribution. But let me tell you one good news, and which I have recently argued and won in the tribunal. Now, the biggest challenge we had was all these days we used to, for the benefit of the chartered accountants, I am saying employees and employers were considered to be the same. But the matter went up to the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court gave a checkmate. It was in the case of checkmate, they said employees have to be paid within 15th of the subsequent month. Let me now tell you, this is what the month of January. I pay the salary in the month of February. The due date, let us say I pay January salary on February 2nd. What is the due date of paying the ESIPF? 15th of February or 15th of March? 15th of February or 15th of March? January salary paid on 2nd of February. So is the due date of ESI and PF 15th of February or 15th of March?
February.
This is what I argued. The company paid on 17th of February. 17th of February, and the tribunal has given me the order in my favor, because I went on to say it is from the month in which you pay rather than the month of salary for which you are paying. Okay, so this is a very good news. So we can take advantage provided you paid it on at least before 15th of March. This is applicable only for PF because ESI uses the word wage month. For ESI, maybe the stakes are lesser. ESI, the word used is wage month. For PF, it is actually the salary month. So the calendar month in which you are paying. So from that day, 15th of the subsequent month you can take. So compliance is better than cure. Yes, sir.
Yes, name sir.
In my case, it was Soliflex, unreported, but I can share you the citation. This was also held by Mumbai Tribunal also earlier. So, it is held in our favor. So you can take advantage. The only thing is, how has it been reported in the tax audit report? In the tax audit report, the due date also has to be accordingly changed. But we No. In fact, the tribunal member asked, what have you told in the tax audit report? Then I only had to tell him, Your Honor, in the tax audit report it is told as 15th February, because at that stage, the chartered accountant did not know that particular rule. Now, should you not give the benefit of the thing by the fact rather than by a report? If the report is wrong, you have to overlook the report is what the argument we have taken, and he has considered that particular argument. Okay. Ninth point is compliance, very important. Compliance may not provide profits, but will provide a great peace. You can sleep with great confidence and also with value creation eventually. The most of the startups, the biggest problem is, sir, I think as Narasimhan said, sir, you are saying profits are there. Where are the profits? Profits are for books. Profits are for books, cash is for real. I don't have the cash in there. All your profits are blocked in inventory, receivables, or you would have gone in to repay your term loans and liabilities. So that is where it is. Forget about repayment. Repayment means no problem, I have reduced my liability. But mostly it will be in the form of your work in progress, finished goods, raw material. Raw material it will mostly be there in the form of receivables. So this is where we have a biggest. Compliance may not provide you profits, but will provide great peace with value creation. And the last thing, I have come here to market my profession. Okay, so the best compliance can be ensured if you have a best CA. I hope all of you agree with that. Best compliance can be ensured if you have a trusted and a best CA. Now, I cannot stop here, so therefore I go forward. Who is the best CA? You rank yourself, and all the chartered accountants are here, you have to rank yourself against each one of them. Knowledgeable and stays up to date. Definitely all chartered accountants are knowledgeable, otherwise you would not have become a chartered accountant. Okay? But whether you are up to date, stays up to date, please understand, this is not a certificate which you can keep it behind you and say that I am a chartered accountant and I don't have to update myself. No, therefore, knowledgeable and stays up to date. Point number 2, keeps the client up to date. Because you have to be so connected with the client that if you are up to date, he pays the ESI and PF on 16th of March and comes to you, not much can be done. So you'll have to tell him the changes that are happening. He has to be skillful. Now what is meant by skillful? He has to be articulating his views properly, computers or whatever. He has to have the required skill sets to convert the knowledge into actions. Respects time. Like this, I have a 10 commandments for time management. If you are not 5 minutes early, you are late. Now, we should all take oath. I was here at 9:15 when it was a 9:30 program, but not more than 15 people were there at that point in time. So we should respect time. As a professional, if you commit a time, you must become a slave of the time. You must become a slave of the time. To that extent, you will have to be committing. Then only, the first sign of a professional is that whether he is maintaining time or not. No? So that's how it is, the respect time. disciplined and responsive. He himself has to be disciplined and he has to be responding to the needs, responding to the requirements of the clients. He should be adequately staffed. When you will see that most of the chartered accountants would have taken more work than the resources. So in case you do not have the required resources, you will have a problem eventually. Because then you will not be able to catch up with the time. Now the deadline will kill you more than the work. So the respects time, disciplined and responsive, adequately staffed, technologically savvy. I think this is, as I started, I think that's why I wanted Narasimhan to talk before me, because that is the importance of technology today. So if you are not technologically savvy, you are illiterate. Holistic view of the business. This is the catch. This is the catch. If somebody asked me when I talked about 10 commandments for business, Acharya, which do you think is the most important of all of them? In that context. Now here I would say of all of them, maybe the most important is the holistic view of business. Let me spend a minute here. What do you mean by holistic view of the business? I see some of the chartered accountants talking about taxation. If the client says, sir, I want to pay 10,000 rupees only as advance tax when it should have actually been 1 lakh rupees. If you succumb to that pressure of the client and say 10,000 rupees pay karo, theek hai, you will have to at that point in time go on to tell him what could be the repercussion. You should also probably tell him the importance of paying higher tax and tell him the tax is a cost that you are paying for your eventual growth. The tax is a cost that you pay for your eventual growth and probably for a bigger, larger purpose of peace of mind. If you get caught, I already told you, compliance is costly, non-compliance is costlier. And I remember Nayak's very good dialogue, pay tax and be fined, otherwise pay fine. Pay tax and be fined, otherwise pay fine. That is a very, 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 very good catchy words of wisdom, wise words from the wise man. So holistic view of business. So you need to, when you please understand, when you are talking about tax, you are not talking about tax as one aspect. You are giving him a total business solution rather than only a tax solution. If he asks you, can I give a loan from this company to this company? From the company law point of view, maybe 185, maybe 72, all these deposit sections, loan sections, it is okay. If you say yes and ignore tax, it could be a case of 222E. It could be a case of deemed dividends. So you cannot, as a consultant, look into one aspect and forget about the other. So the client expects you to give you a holistic solution rather than a piecemeal solution. I would now say 9th is more important than 8th also. What is the 9th one? Charges a reasonable good fee. This is what I am telling to all the chartered accountants, that you should charge a reasonable good fee, and to all the MSMEs here. If you are paying less fee to the chartered accountant, then I think you are not having the best chartered accountant. So that is how I would like to now market the profession. So please pay well so that you are getting the best of the solutions. Who can, at the end of the day, who is the best CA? One who can be a trusted advisor. I think trust is the key. So with this, I have to close my session, but let me see if I have missed something. The important laws in India. In fact, Nayak sent me the moment from Chennai, from Mumbai when he called. Don't worry. What are the topics you would like to handle? Then I said, okay, compliance is what I would like to talk about. Then he sent me a 120 slide presentation on compliances. All the 120 slides, I put it into one slide and said, these are the various important laws in India which you have to comply out of the 993. Quickly I will read out the PF Act, when it is applicable, when you are having more than 20 employees, including the contract employees. Although those slides of Nayak used to have 12% employees contribution, 12% employee contribution, then what is that? EDLI. Now, to that extent it is there. Here I am not getting into that. So I am just touching, giving a bird's eye view. ESI Act, entities with the aid of power more than 10, otherwise it is 20. MSME Act, all manufacturing and service enterprises subject to the limits of turnover and investment in plant and machinery. Factories Act, applicable to all factories. What happens in a factory if somebody is injured, all those things are taken care of. Payment of Wages Act, Employees Compensation Act, Maternity Benefit Act, applicable to all entities. Payment of Bonus Act, all factories and all establishments employing more than 20. Payment of Gratuity Act, all entities employing employees who have completed more than 5 years. Payment of Gratuity Act is applicable. Contract Labor Act, Import-Export Act, Import-Export Code, then Sexual Harassment Act, all entities, Minimum Wages Act, then the professional tax. Please understand, this is one of the reasons one of the companies had no business for 10 years, but he had forgotten to pay 2,500 rupees professional tax every year. Although he did not have any business, he ended up paying 25,000 rupees with interest, which is about 50,000 rupees. So whether or not you do any activity, professional tax, there is an enrollment, then there is a registration, one for the company, one for the employees who are drawing up to more than 15,000 rupees, 200 rupees reduction you have to collect and pay. And the Shops and Establishment Act. So these are the gamut of acts, most important out of the 993 acts. There could be penalty on auditors also. All the MSMEs should understand that the auditor, when he signs, he is not the final authority. He may be subject to audit. The Central Council member, he is here. Today we have a very strong mechanism of peer review. Now peer review now is mandatory for all those firms which are doing the central audit of banks. It is now, next year onwards, it will be applicable for all those firms which are doing the branch audits also. And from this year, 1/4/2023 onwards, my firm, because we have 5 partners, we have to be mandatorily peer reviewed. Otherwise, I cannot do any firm with more than 5 years, 5 partners, 5 and more. They are going to increase, and eventually they are going to cover all the practicing chartered accountants for peer review. So there could be penalties on the chartered accountants, samskaras for companies. Okay. So also to private limited companies, CSR, internal audit, rotation of auditors, whole-time company secretary, CARO, and things like that. Private company exemptions, we talked about. GST 20 lakhs and above. If you are an entity which is doing supply of goods, alone 40 lakh rupees is a cutoff for GST registration. If you are into services, 20 lakh rupees is the cutoff for GST registration. If you are supplying both goods and services, then it is 20 lakh rupees. Then you can also go in for composition of the GST, that means up to 150 lakhs of turnover, without collecting GST, you can just pay 1% and be done with it. And this payment is on monthly basis, but return filing is on quarterly basis, QRMP model. So registration of GST is also mandatory in certain contexts. These are the contexts. Aggregate turnover we have talked about. Interstate taxable supplies. If you have interstate taxable supplies, you have to mandatorily register, irrespective of your turnover not reaching the limit. Casual taxable persons, that means if you are setting up an exhibition and things like that. RCM taxpayers, that is the reverse charge mechanism taxpayers, e-com operators, non-resident taxpayers, persons required to make TDS, and others like that. And please understand, once registered, if you are registered, you don't have an option but to collect and pay. You cannot say, I'm just registering for the sake of it, and thereafter, once my turnover crosses, I will see. No, once you register, whether or not your turnover reaches the limit, you have to file the GST return. Who should file income tax return? Individuals having a turnover of a taxable income of more than 2.5 lakh rupees. Companies and firms compulsorily have to file income tax return, and there is a concept of TDS, TCS. Okay, let me just stop here. Why should I talk about just 10 commandments when we have our own Dashavataram? Okay? Let me just cover it in 5 seconds or maybe 10 seconds. Have at least 3 partners in a partnership firm. Have 2 persons as authorized signatories for GST. Why? Because if one of them is not there, still you can file the return. Why did we talk about 3 partners? If in a 2 partnership firm, one of them dies, the firm is considered to be dissolved. firm is supposed, so then it is all the taxation implication applies. So 3 partners, at least if one of them dies, 2 will continue. Have properties and bank account lockers in joint names. Have nomination for all financial assets. Have a complete list of assets and liabilities updated periodically for your family to know. Prepare a will. And prepare a will, I always keep telling, age is not the criteria. Yes. Assets and legal hires are the criteria. Okay? Buy immovable properties in individual names instead of company name. Passwords to be, okay, passwords are important, but reveal it to your spouse in case you have trust in her. Okay? Ensure safety of your DSC. Please, this is a very important point. The DSCs are your signature. If you allow your DSC and give it to somebody and says that you use it, he may misuse it also. So please take care of that. Giving a DSC to some other person is like signing on a white paper. Signing on a white paper. Have external backup of all computer data, goes without saying. Let me just complete it. And before I conclude, I have to tell you one thing, that the bees, Pradhan sir, I think I told you this, in the Atmanirbhar package, about how much, I think 21 lakh crores, they gave 500 crores towards bees. Because bees are very, very important. You know, then we were saying bees in the Yen Lava, they give you honey, they give you probably wax. That's what is apparently known. But the bigger role that they play is, I think it was Albert Einstein who went on to say, bees disappear off the face of the earth. Man would only have 4 years left to live. You know why are bees so important? Because they help in pollination. What is pollination? Now I don't have to tell that. Between 2 plants, they enable the growth of further ecosystem. They enable the growth of ecosystem. Just as bees enable the growth of ecosystems, chartered accountants act as pollinators in the economic ecosystems, connecting the banker and the borrower, the tax department and the taxpayer, management and the shareholders. Thank you so much.
It was an illuminating and exegetic session. We appreciate you making time in your busy schedule. Thank you all for all your guidance and support. We Ballarians feel embraced. We know we can always count on you to be there for us. Thank you for being such a great resource and mentor. Once again, thank you for capturing the event so perfectly. Namma Mannina Maga, Namma Abhimana. With this quote, I request CA Prasanna Sir, immediate past chairman of Ballari branch, to give him a memento. It is our appreciation token. Kindly accept it, sir.
Be busy like a busy bee.
We have to note all the quotes of wise men.
If we have branding, we can make branding.
Eminent speaker amongst us, Advocate Hari Krishna Holla, to present on this topic. I will request CA Vinod Kumar, please escort him towards the dais. Mr. Hari Krishna Holla is an advocate in Karnataka High Court and an intellectual property rights consultant in Bangalore. Mr. Hari Krishna Holla is a founder of Holla Associates, a leading firm in India based in Bangalore, specialized in the IPR rights. Mr. Hari Krishna Holla has over 40 years of experience in handling IPR rights matters. He is also a faculty in National Law School, Bangalore. Please put a round of applause for Mr. Hari Krishna Holla.
Dear friends, as you know well, brand is like a heart and soul of your business. If you don't develop brand, you can't sell your product. See, we go to the shop every day and buy products. We don't see who is the manufacturer and all, but only we go by the trademark which is there on the product. So that is the importance of the brand. In fact, if a person becomes very famous, we call him as a, oh, he's a trademark fellow. So that's how they pass this thing. I'll just go through the small slide presentation about how branding can be developed and all that. Yeah, next we go. See, core values of the brand. What are the core values? Number one is design. It should be unique, novelty, easy to carry, and eyes of the Then value. Purity is the mantra. Your product should be the best, and it should be the pure. It should be purity. That is the very most important. Then strategy. Study market and tactfully deal. Then logo. Ensure that it is original. If you copy somebody's logo, then you will get into trouble. So don't copy the logo. Then marketing most critical. Advertising, balance between your product and advertising. In fact, there is a small story about the marketing.
Sir, ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಸ್ಪೀಡ್ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಸ್ಲೋ ಮಾಡಿ.
ಹೌದಾ?
ಓವರ್ ಸ್ಪೀಡ್ ಆಯ್ತು.
ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ಟೈಮ್ ಆಗೋಯ್ತಲ್ಲ.
ಇಲ್ಲ ಏನು ಗಡಿಬಿಡಿ ಇಲ್ಲ.
ಇಲ್ಲ ತಾನೆ?
ಇಲ್ಲ ಅದ
ಓಕೆ.
ಸ್ಪೀಡ್ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಯ್ತು.
There is a story about a product, an English leather, which actually developed a product for the razors and also the shaving solution. That advertised heavily and then marketed, and then they spent huge amount on the advertisement and all that. Then ultimately, when the customers wanted the product was not available in the market because they did not develop the product by spending that money. Only they spent money on the advertisement, as a result of which the product lost the market. So therefore, don't do it. First, ensure that you have necessary facilities for manufacturing. At the same time, you go for a marketing. So it should be balancing. Identity can be created by value of your product. As you know well, you buy some particular product every time. Why you buy the product? Because you trust the product. So therefore, identity goes with your product and your quality of the production and of the product. Then trust is the buzzword. Next. Now, we have heard about the advertisements given by the multinational companies where they get into problem and all. So that is in law called the disparagement of the product. So therefore, this is a competitive world. There is a tough competition, and therefore you have to survive and you have to give advertisement. And at that time, we always compare our product with other person and then try to catch their product, try to catch the market. So while catching that market, we issue advertisement. While issuing advertisement, you should be very careful. It does not amount to disparagement in advertisement. What is disparagement in advertisement? Advertisement means that a trader has the right to call his product as the best in the world, even though the declaration is false. So even if you say that your product is best, but you should, even if it is false, it's okay. But comparing that, he can also claim that his goods are better than his competitors, even if such argument is false. So that second one is also allowed in law. Then third one, to say that his goods are best in the world or his goods are better than his competitors, he can even compare his goods advantage over the goods of the others. So that also is allowed. But last one, you cannot disrespect or say a false thing about the other person. However, he cannot now claim that his goods are better than those of competitors, say that the goods of his competitors are poor or bad. So that he cannot say. If he says that, that amounts to defamation and their action can be taken legally against you for compensation and all that. He cannot, however, conclude that his competitors' goods are bad, although he says that his goods are better than his competitors. So therefore, you should be very careful while giving advertisement. It does not amount to disparagement in advertisement. I'll just give some few illustrations next. See, in this happened, there was a tough competition between Coca-Cola and Pepsi. So the Coca-Cola, the thumbs up, they called Pepsi as a puppy. So that was a derogatory word, and therefore court said that you cannot use that word, and ultimately Pepsi has to remove, Coca-Cola has to remove that advertisement. Next. Here, during the pandemic time, everybody was aware about the cleanliness and all that. So there was a tough competition between the Lifebuoy and Dettol. Dettol always was telling that the Lifebuoy is not good and all that. So therefore, ultimately court injected Dettol from comparing their product with the Lifebuoy, and ultimately court said that both products are good and consumers can use it. Next. Conclave and Horlicks. This is also a disparagement of advertisement where it happened. The two glasses of Conclave is equivalent to 1 glass of 2 glasses of Horlicks is equivalent to 1 glass of Conclave. So that was the message was given by advertisement. What stopped that people the issuing from the advertisement. Next. And also you should ensure that you should give a correct image to the correct message to the public while giving advertisement. For example, in this, what happened was Fair and Lovely, where they were saying that if you use the hour cream, the darker person will become a fairer person. So ultimately, they have to change the trademark, and then they have to go for it. They have to make it as a glow and fair. So fair has been removed and glow and this thing. So therefore, you should be very careful while giving advertisement. You should not indulge in such things where comparison and all that, which hurts the feeling of a human beings. Next. So now, why these brands have become very popular all over the world? Of course, I don't have to tell you all that. And as you know well, these are the topmost brands of the world. Of course, unfortunately, we don't find even a single one Indian in the topmost brands. That I know what is the reason. Next. So what are the brand values? Brand values is the foundation for the growth of any company. So therefore, I told you that brand value is the most important thing. Without developing your brand, you cannot survive in this market. Particularly, it is a very competitive market and a very stiff competition in all products. And therefore, you have to protect your brand value, and unless and until you protect your brand value, you cannot survive in the market. Then they must be, please go to the next. They must be honest, implemented throughout every part of the brand strategy, from any communication with employees, consumers to strategic decision making. Maintaining pure value of brand is the primary responsibility of the company. So therefore, in any brand, maintaining a brand value is the most important thing. So kindly note down that. Next. As you know well, Kingfisher, Vijay Mallya came out with a very big this thing and spent huge amount of advertisement, everything, and lavish spending and all that. Ultimately, he could not survive because he was lavish spending the amount not for improving the conditions of the this thing and all, but ultimately he lost things for so many reasons. I don't think that I have to tell you everything. Of course, it also gone through the court, and now ultimately he has to face the imprisonment, and is avoiding imprisonment and now hiding in London. So therefore, Kingfisher, even though, and he first of all what he did was, he ventured into a business where he is not aware of anything. He ultimately invested huge amount on that, even though he had a cash-rich family of the liquor business. Then he bought Deccan Airways for a huge sum. So ultimately he failed, and ultimately he could not repay the loans, and therefore the bank ultimately took all his assets and all that and filed a criminal case, and he has to run away from this thing. So therefore, it's most important that we should think of business where we can venture. If you don't know that business, kindly don't venture at all. Next. On the contrary, this is a Patanjali, a Baba, has started a business. Today it is more than the value, the turnover is more than that of the Unilever, a world international company. So this is the Baba company is more than this, because it's a simple advertisement and a simple product and touching the hearts of the people with these simplest products. And that is the reason. So he is now grown up like this, and he could ultimately meet Unilever and other multinational company in the consumer products. Next. You must be knowing about the Ganesh Pidi. Ganesh Pidi is about 50 years back it was there. It was a company started in Mysore, Bangalore Ganesh Pidi. That Bidi is actually what happened, that it was owned by two brothers. Then ultimately there was a division in the brothers. So they wanted to, the business, the dispute went up to the High Court. Then High Court ultimately has to do a partition. As usual, in the family, two brothers keep fighting for the assets and all that. Ultimately, it has to be divided by a partition suit. Now, they wanted to assess. They appointed a chartered accountant to value the products of what is the cost of the assets of the company. So the partnership was owning the lorry, business, building material, everything was stock in trade, everything was valued only at 2 crores. But ultimately, how can they value the brand name? Because the products were sold only because of the brand name. When they asked for the brand name, the chartered accountants could not give an answer. And ultimately court said that we can't cut the Ganesha into half and give to two people. So what the court said that, okay, we will auction this brand name and whosoever bids highest, they will take the brand. So ultimately, their entire land building value and fixed assets was only 2 crores, whereas the brand value went for a 25 crores. So one person took the 25 crores and the other person has to give up that car. So this is the beauty of the brand value. Next. These are the topmost Indian brands. You can see the TCS, HDFC Bank, Infosys, Airtel, Asian Paints, SBI, LIC. Most of them are all service sector. Not a single this thing is in manufacturing sector. Of course, Tata's is there, but others are not there. Huh?
Asian Paints is manufacturing.
Okay, yeah, right. Next. So what are the assets in a brand value we look is? This is trademark we see. That's the most important. Then brand name, visual asset, logos and colors, marketing strategies, digital assets, licenses and level of customer quality. So these are the important assets value we look into the brand. So these unless until you protect these things, your brand will suffer. Next. Brand values has a touch of human element. So when you design a brand, you have to see that it is accepted by the human, that is the consumers. So that's the most important thing. Consumers, employees, partners all look for the brand value and before they wish to associate with. So everybody wants to see. We go to the shop and insist on a brand name only because we are confident with that brand. We have faith in that brand. So therefore, the brand, developing brand, protecting a brand is most important thing. Brand values serve as a guide to day-to-day business, day-to-day action and long-term decision making. Next. Now we deal with what are the laws which deal with the brand. You develop a brand. Now you want to know which are the acts which are applicable and how it can be protected and all that. So these are the major acts which in India protects a brand. Number one is the Trademark Act 1999, then Copyright Act 1957, Designs Act 2000, Patents Act 2005 and Joint Indications 1999. So these are the major acts which protect your brand. So let me go through by one. Next. So what is trademark? Ultimately we all, as a layman, we understand trademark is a picture or a logo or something like that. But it is much more than that. In the act it is defined in the two parts. One is a trademark, another is a mark. So the mark, if you go through the mark, it includes everything. For example, a mark includes a device, brand, heading, label, ticket, name, signature, word, letter, numerical, shape of goods, packaging, combination of colors, anything. So therefore, what we understand by a trademark only by picture or a logo, it is much more than that. Everything is a trademark and definition of trademark encompasses everything. While looking at the definition of a trademark, it is capable of being represented graphically. So a trademark can be, unless and until it is represented graphically, there is no trademark in vacuum. It should be graphically represented, an artistic line or a picture or something like that. Even if you write the words also can be the same. So that is one thing. Then number two is that which is capable of distinguishing the goods from service of one person to other. So there cannot be two identical trademarks. It should be always different. You cannot copy, you cannot make the cosmetic changes and adopt other person's trademark. So therefore, you should ensure that your logo is unique, your trademark is unique, and don't copy from others. If you don't copy the trademark of others, then you will get into problem. Then of course, it includes the packaging, colors and all that. Next. So what are the legal requirements for applying for a trademark? For example, you want to adopt a trademark. Before starting a business, first you have to identify the name. If you identify a name, for example, you want to start some business in a particular product, then you want to look for a name. Then you look for a name which is not there, which is unique, which is not there in the public domain, or if it is already registered trademark. So therefore ensure that you adopt a trademark which is not there on the public domain, which is unique and it is it is an inventive word. Unless and until you adopt an inventive word, you will not get protection under law, and also if you adopt a other person's name, you will get into problem. select a word, it should be capable of being represented graphically. We should distinguish the goods and services of one undertaking from others. So that's most important. Then it should be used, proposed to be used in relation to the goods and services or for purpose of indicating, so as to indicate the connection, the course, the business of the trade. Persons who are to use the trademark without a identifier. In fact, when you look at a logo, for example, look at the logo of the SBI. Do we know that who is the owner of the SBI? Name is not mentioned. Karnataka Bank. Name is not mentioned. Tata's. Tata's, of course, the surname it is now derived as a trademark. So like that, when you look at a logo or a trademark, the persons who is manufacturing and will not be known at all. So we just look at the picture, logo and then buy that. Next. You can see the trademark also keep changing. I just given one slide where the Pepsi Cola, which was there in the 1898, it was looking like that. Now today you can see what is the logo of this. So as the fashion keeps changing, the trademarks also keep changing. And in fact, many of the banks and other institutions have also changed the name. Canara Bank, which has a flower with in a oval shape, which is about used for more than 70 years. Now they have got a different logo. So like that, trademarks also keep changes. Next. Now Amazon. How many of you know Amazon? What exactly is Amazon? Can anybody tell? Huh? Everybody knows that it is an e-commerce company, isn't it? But Amazon is the largest river belt in South America. So that original meaning of Amazon is lost because the Amazon has become an e-commerce and we associate with e-commerce and it has become a part of our life. So that is called that is the beauty of a trademark. So Amazon, which is a part of a river belt delta in South America, has been adopted as a e-commerce name and it has become derived a secondary meaning and therefore it has become distinctive with the Amazon company. So therefore Amazon is a company which is now very famous in the e-commerce. Nobody can use that name. For example, if you say that I can use Amazon because the reverse name, you will not be allowed. In fact, I will tell you one small incident. Nilgiris is a hillock in near Ooty. What happened that somebody adopted the Nilgiris the Nilgiris company adopted the Nilgiris brand for selling milk and milk products. They started their firm in 1905 in Bangalore. So it became famous and then they diversified into the hotels and then consumer products, etc. etc. Other person also started Nilgiris and started using the trademark. Even though he did not adopt the same logo, but he used a different logo. Then ultimately the Nilgiris company took up the matter in the court. Then it was decided in the High Court. High Court said, other person you cannot use this name because it has become a secondary name. Even though it is adopted the name of a hillock in near Ooty. It has now people identify the goods and everything with the Nilgiris and therefore you cannot do that one. Same thing happened for the Bajaj, Tatas and Adigas. As you know, well, there was a chain of restaurants, Adigas in Bangalore. So other person, Adiga is actually surname of a person from South Kerala who started a hotels and chain restaurant. Sir, kindly, sir, it is disturbing, sir. It's disturbing me. So Adigas was a chain restaurant and a person by name Adiga, he started the restaurant. So when he started restaurant with Adiga, other person with the same surname also started. Then we argued the case and stating that even though the Adiga is a surname, it has been used for a long time and it has become distinctive with him. It has acquired a secondary name like Bajaj, Tata and all that, and therefore you cannot use that name. So ultimately High Court said that you cannot use that name even though your surname is Adiga. So likewise, once you adopt a personal name as a trademark and you use it for a long time, it becomes distinctive with you and nobody else can use the trade name, trademark. Can't come. Like what happened in the case of Manikchand. As you may be very well that Manikchand was a very famous Gurkha company which was run into, which was in the market and it was grown was more than 1,000 crores company one time. Then Manikchand was the name of the trademark. Then they obtained registration of a trademark. Then what happened that there was another person called Mallige. So in trademark law, if you use a deceptively similar name, even with the one spelling mistake, it amounts to infringement of trademark. Because in the trademark what we see is the phonetic similarity, visual similarity and structural similarity. you should be there. So it was a phonetic similarity, Mallige and Mallige. So Mallige was a company which was using for the same tobacco product that was in Indore. So this Mallige, because of their publicity and other things and all, they felt that use of Mallige amounts to the grabbing their business, and they filed a suit for infringement. Ultimately, the matter went to Supreme Court. Supreme Court ultimately said, with the records, going by the record, who adopted the trademark first. Then it was found in the record that the Mallige was adopted first 10 years prior to that of Mallige. So ultimately, Mallige has lost the name, and he has to change the name as the R&D or something he has used. So therefore, what is important is the prior user. A lot of people think, supposing if I get a trademark registered, I become the owner and all. That is not so. The user is most important. So the prior user is most important in any case. So unless and until you are a prior user, you cannot protect your trademark. That means to say, supposing if somebody is already using the name, and if other person doesn't, even though that person doesn't apply for registration, if other person adopts the trademark and gets it registered, then he cannot become the owner and ultimately he will lose in the case. So that is the thing. And you also can see three important definitions. Number one is a trademark. What refers to trademark is only with reference to the manufactured goods. So trademark applies only to manufactured goods. Supposing you carry on the service marks like Life Insurance Corporation or bank or Amazon, all those are all service marks. So they are called the service marks. Then apart from that, there is also called well-known trademarks like McDonald, then Amul. They are all well-known trademarks. What is well-known trademark? Actually, in the trademark, there are about 45 classifications of goods are there. So with reference to the goods and services you are entering, you have to apply accordingly. For example, you are manufacturing a pen, you have to apply in the class 16. You are manufacturing the food products, you have to apply in the class 29 and 30. So likewise, classification is made. So with reference to the classification of goods, you have to apply for registration. Supposing you have got a trademark which has got a bindu in a pen, you can't stop the other person from using the bindu for a shirts and other things and all. So it doesn't amount to infringement of trademark because your registration is only restricted to the classification of goods you are manufacturing. But in case of a well-known trademark, it is totally different. For example, you have a McDonald. You cannot use the McDonald for any other things. In fact, an incident happened in Bangalore. What happened was the McDonald wanted to enter, they are not come to Indian market at that time. So about 25 years back it happened in Bangalore. So they wanted to come to Indian market and wanted to sell their products, that is McDonald. Then there was a person called PC Mallappa and company was manufacturing sanitary goods and all that. He adopted PC Mallappa. So that arch logo of the McDonald he copied and then got it registered in the Copyright Act. When the McDonald wanted to come to India, he filed a suit for injunction and injunction was granted, restraining them from using the trademark McDonald for food products in India, in Bangalore. Then ultimately the matter was taken to Supreme High Court. Then the High Court asked one simple question to PC Mallappa and company. Mr. Mallappa, you are using the logo, arch logo, which you claim it is your original mark. Where did you get the idea of using the trademark? He didn't have any answer because he has to say that I copied from them. So ultimately, if somebody adopts a trademark with a fraudulent idea, fraudulent intention, they will not survive. They have to surrender. So the beauty of the well-known trademark is that it cannot be used for any other products. So McDonald cannot be used for any other products. Amul cannot be used for any other products. So there are some list of about 20-25 products that have been in India has been declared as a well-known trademark. So those trademarks cannot be used by any other person for the thing. So the trademark is different, service marks is different, and well-known mark is also different. So these three are very important aspects in the trademark. Now you see the definition of double tone. This is a famous Swiss company which is manufacturing the chocolates. Why it is called double tone is that it has come from a place called Bern in Switzerland, which is famous for bears and also the mountains. So therefore this trademark. So while adopting a trademark, the manufacturer wants to give the real meaning. So therefore this trademark is used. Next. This is a Mexican dish which is actually consumed, it is served in the restaurant. It's called Tastitos. So that means to say that it's actually a family dish where the family can go and take this dish. So to identify that it is a family dish, what they have done is, you can see TAT. T is a father, other T is a mother, and then the I is a child. So this is a dish which is dipped in salsa and eaten. So therefore, in order to give the real meaning to that, they have adopted this logo. Next. Formula 1, everybody knows, it's all fast. So therefore, between F1 this thing, the 1 is there, you can see the identifier, 1 is just marked between the two pictures. So that's called the Formula 1. Yeah. Next. Now trademarks, as I said, it encompasses so many things and all. You can see the alphabets, then picture, logo, all these things are all trademark. You can't say that it is only a logo, it all encompasses trademark, everything encompasses in a trademark. Next. So these are the service marks which you are referring to. Next. So these are the well-known trademarks. So it is the well-known trademarks cannot be used by any other person for other products also. Otherwise, normally in the trademark law, only it restricted the classification of goods which is registered. Next. In fact, there was a case about the 7 o'clock. What happened was, 7 o'clock, as you know, where it is a razor blade company which manufactures, Gillette company is manufacturing that, and its trademark is very famous in more than 140 countries. Other person adopted the 7 o'clock toothpaste. So Bombay High Court, the matter was taken to Bombay High Court. Then the other person, defendant, argued that the 7 o'clock after all I am manufacturing toothpaste, whereas the Gillette company is manufacturing only the razor blades. Court said you cannot do that because it will amount to encashing upon the goodwill and reputation built by 7 o'clock. So people identify 7 o'clock only with the razor. Supposing if the person who is picking up a razor, if he comes to know that even they are manufacturing toothpaste, and so obviously that person will pick up that product also. So therefore it will amount to encashing upon goodwill and reputation. Moreover, both goods are sold in the same outlet, like kirana shop or department store and all that. So ultimately court said you cannot do that, and they were stopped from doing that one. Next. Likewise for a Bata also there was an incident in Calcutta High Court. What happened was that the Bata, as you know well, it is only known for footwear and other things and all that. One person from Tirupur started manufacturing lungis under the brand name Bata. So adopted the identical logo, and then people thought it has emanated from the Bata company and started buying and all. So ultimately Calcutta High Court stopped him from misusing that logo, as it amounts to infringement of trademark, of a well-known trademark. Next. You can see in trademark, you can see A to Z. A lot of trademarks must be knowing. If you know D, it is a Disneyland. Then likewise, K for Kellogg's. So like it is all Z for ZTV, T for the T series. So likewise, all alphabets are used in the trademark. Next. Next. Even the signature also constitutes a trademark. There is a very, very famous, I don't know how many of you know about the Nanjangud tooth powder, which has come from a Nanjangud near Mysore. So there the tooth powder was started by B.B. Pandit about 100 years back. I am told that the people used to buy this product only by identifying the signature. B.B. Pandit is written in the center of the product. Next. Next. So by choosing a trademark, you should be very careful. As I told you, if you adopt a generic trademark, you will not get any protection. So therefore, always it is necessary for you to use the last two things, arbitrary and fanciful. So unless and until it is arbitrary and fanciful, you won't get protection under law. If you use generic name, descriptive name or suggestive name, not much of a protection will be there. Protection under the law. Next. See, these are some of the generic names where you can't get. For example, Band-Aid or Apple Store or Kids, they cannot be used as a trade. It will not get registered as a trademark. So therefore, avoid generic name. Next. These are also descriptive names. Descriptive names, sometimes it may give the indirect meaning, but still it may become this thing only after use it for a certain number of years. But again, it is not advisable to go for a suggestive names also. Next. You see, for example, take the case of Xerox. As you know well, the Xerox, every other Photoshop is called as a Xerox shop. But ultimately it was owned by a company which was, it was their registered trademark. because they could not stop the infringement and large number of people started using Xerox, they lost the title in that. Likewise for the ping pong or aspirin and all that. It was once upon a time a registered trademark, but ultimately it is called a publicity juris in law, where they lost the title because they could not protect the trademark. Next.
Distillery, sir. Distillery also.
Dictionary. Distillery is still a trademark, but a lot of people are misusing it, but action should be taken.
Udupi Hotel.
Udupi is a generation. Yeah, next.
Udupi Hotel alla
So
misuse
these are the best way of adopting. For example, penguin is a name of an animal which is being used for the books. So therefore it can be seen. Cycle brand, it is a for agarbattis. So it is arbitrarily applied. So therefore this is a best way of protecting. Like in an apple. Apple is the name of a fruit. Now apple has been adopted now for smartphones and mobile smartphone and laptops and other things and all. So now supposing apple, even though it is a generic name, it is arbitrarily applied to the electronic good and therefore it becomes distinctive with them. For example, you want to start a fruit shop under the brand name Apple, then ultimately you will not get registration because it becomes generic. So arbitrarily it can be applied. Likewise, orange. Orange shirts are there, orange tools are there, but you can't have an orange fruit shop. So that is the law. Next. These are all the inventive words and fanciful words. For example, Infosys. How many of you know what is Infosys? Information systems. But they have shortened the word and then they have been used, and therefore it is the best way of adopting trademark. Likewise, Reebok or Kodak or Microsoft and all that. Next. Next. So what is the function of a trademark? When you look at the function of a trademark, it identifies the goods and services of its origin. So you very well know when you go to a shop and buy a product, which company it has emanated from. When you buy the Lifebuoy soap, so it has come from Unilever. Likewise, so therefore, it identifies the goods and services of its origin. Number two, it guarantees the unchanged quality. Why insist on that product? You know the quality of that product, and therefore time and again you go and buy only that product and you will not go for other products. Then it advertises the goods and services. So if you have a trademark, it automatically gives advertisements and also the services. Then it creates an image for the goods and services. So it automatically creates. In fact, many of us, that in the shops only they go by the brand names and register trademark, not by the other things and all that. We only look at the brand name and then buy. So that is the beauty of trademark. So unless you have a registered trademark or a trademark, your product cannot be sold. Next. Next. There is an act called National Evidence Prevention of Improper Use Act 1950. So if supposing there are about 10 names are there, which you adopt as a trademark, it cannot be protected. So that is prohibited under the act. So therefore, avoid the trademarks like picture of Mallige or Olympic symbol of Parliament and all that. If you adopt the same as a trademark, you will not get registered, and it will not get registered, and no protection can be given under law. Next. Apart from trademark, then service marks, and also other one is well-known trademark. There is also called a certification mark. What is certification mark? It is given to an organization which certifies the quality of the product. For example, AgMark. AgMark is not a trademark. It is given to a government of India organization which has got facility of testing a food products. Likewise, wool mark, then silk mark. So these are the organizations which have got a facility of testing and certify the quality of the product. So these marks are given to that organization. That organizations can give to others provided it meet the quality what they prescribe under law. So therefore, certification marks are given to one organization. Unlike trademark, which can be owned by all the persons, certification mark can be owned only by one person, that invariably a government organization which has got facility of testing the product. Next. So the professional organizations like Chartered Accountants Association and all that, this is given to that organization where the members can use that trademark. We cannot, other persons cannot use the trademark. So this is called the collective mark. So which is given to an organization which has got the facility of which enrolls a particular members of the particular profession like doctors, chartered accountants, others and all that. So the organization only can get that mark, and organization members can use that mark. So that is also defined in the Trademark Act. So the process of registration, I will let you know about it. There is a website called the IPR India website where you can go and make a search engine. There is a search engine which provides for the search of all the trademarks registered in India. So before adopting a trademark, you have to first choose the name. Which is the name you want to adopt. So for that, you have to first go through the Google search and other market search and all that. Thereafter, if you are convinced, then you can go to the IPR India where there is a search engine is there. Then you have to click that. Then you have to click your name. Then what is the goods you are going to manufacture, or what the service you are providing, what service you are going to provide. That has to be clicked. So once you click that, then you will get a lot of names which are now registered, unregistered, and all. If your mark is not registered, then you can go ahead with registration. Supposing if that mark is already registered, then avoid that, because you will definitely face infringement action and all that. Number one. Number two is, then once you get the trademark clear by the trademark registry, then you can make an application. Now there is a facility of online application, so therefore you can make an online application with a payment of necessary fees and all that. In that application, what you have to state is, who is the proprietor of this trademark, whether it's a company, partnership, or an individual. Names have to be mentioned. Then what is the name of the trademark? Then you have to mention the name. Then what are the goods under which you are going to manufacture or services you are going to provide? That you have to give on a detailed list. For example, you are making a food products, means in food products itself there are about 4 classifications are there. If you go to the Trademark India website, you will get all these things. So once you mention that food product, this how long you have been using, that's the most important. Supposing if you have been using from past 10 years and you have not applied for registration, you will know you can apply and protect that. So you have to mention the date on which you have started manufacturing that. Then you have to provide them evidence that you have been using the trademark. What are the evidence you can give? For example, if you are a registered company, you can give the company incorporation certificate, or a partnership deed can be given. Then the first invoice you can give. Then if you have issued advertisement in the newspapers and electronic media and all, those evidence can be given. So once you give all this information to the trademark registry and pay necessary fine, the fees with regard to the individual is about 4,000 rupees. If it is a company or a partnership, it is a 9,000 rupees. That is the fees. Of course, for startups there is a 50% reduction is there, so that can be avoided also. Then once you pay that fee, then it is online. It is then immediately you will get next minute a number is generated wherein you can use that number. So your application is now registered with the, which is filed with the trademark registry. They generate a number and give you. Then within 1 month they will examine your trademark whether this can be registered or not. For example, while examining your trademark, if it comes to know that it is very close to other trademark or something like that, they will say your trademark cannot be registered because it is very deceptively similar to other trademark. Or whatever the reason they will give, and then ultimately examination report will be given. You have to reply that examination report within a stipulated time. If you don't reply that examination report, then it will be abandoned. Then thereafter, once your trademark is accepted, then they will publish in a trademark journal, which is published electronically every week. Every week about 4,000 to 5,000 marks are published in India. So in that, why they give opportunity public is to ensure that they don't, if somebody is using a trademark and if he has not seen this trademark and all, he can oppose the registration. He can say this trademark is identical to me and therefore it should not be registered and all that, he can file a opposition. So if supposing any opposition is filed by any person, then your trademark will not get registered. So supposing if there is no opposition, then they will proceed to issue, after expiry of 3 months, they will proceed to issue the certificate of registration. Once the registration certificate is given, it is valid for a period of 10 years. Every 10 years you have to keep renewing it. And once your trademark is registered, you can put the R in right hand side of the mark. But don't put R without obtaining registration, because it's an offence where the trademark register can we can file criminal case against you. So if it is pending registration, normally people put TM. So in case of a opposed mark, it will be contested. The Register of Trademarks will hear both the parties and he will see what is the nature of opposition and all that. And ultimately, if he is convinced that opposition is a frivolous, then he will dismiss and grant the certification. If it is found that opposition is sustainable, then he will say that your trademark cannot be registered. Ultimately, you can take up the matter in the High Court for adjudication and all that. So this is the process of registration of a trademark. Next. See, I have given this example of Starbucks. You can see on the picture, this is actually a recent case in Delhi High Court, where the person used a deceptively similar name for a coffee, that is Sardar Baksh coffee. So he used the identical color scheme, get up and design of that person, Starbucks. So for a layman, when you look at that, you will not be able to make out the differences and all. So ultimately court said that it's a clear case of infringement. Even though the pictures are totally different, the total idea has been copied and used for the same coffee, so the court prevented that person from using the trademark. Here also in the second one also, even though the picture of the lady is different, but this is a almost identical name is used, and therefore it amounts to infringement of trademark. In fact, there was a very interesting case of our own Mallige. The Mallige has got a particular color scheme and get up with a green, with a yellow with a picture of a child and all. So the yellow line is very prominent. Even now, from past 60 to 70 years, they are using the same yellow background. One person from Bangalore started manufacturing the biscuits under the same thing. They did not use Parle. They used some other name, but adopted the identical color scheme and all that. So what court said that if a layman looks at it, normally we don't, well, buying the product we don't see, because after all, biscuit is about 5 rupees. We send our child to buy the product. So child will see if it is a yellow background and all, it thinks that it is a Mallige, eliminated from Mallige, and then ends up buying that. So therefore what the court said was, a average man with imperfect recollection. So that is the test to be applied. For example, if you go and buy a 555 soap, tomorrow if triple S soap is given, you think it has come from the 555 only. So you will not be able to make out. So therefore, this is the test applied for infringement of trademark. Next. Here also the Glucon-D, they have been manufacturing the Glucon-D for a long time. And Dabur adopted the identical color scheme and get up and all that. Then court said that the Dabur said, whereas they are using only the family with a husband, wife and a child, we are using our daughter also there and all. Court said nothing doing, because your idea is to encash upon the goodwill and reputation of those people. And it was the same color scheme and get up. So ultimately Dabur has to change the trademark and then sell their product. Next. You can see some of the instances of infringement. Next. Next. These are the cases of infringement of trademark decided in the courts of law. Next. 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 Now there is one more act called, I told you about the trademark, now we are covered. There is a Geographical Indication Act. Of course it doesn't apply to MSME and all that, but only, this is actually an act called Geographical Indications of Goods and Registration of Production Act 1999. This act came into force only in the 1999. Next. What is geographical indication of this? So next you take. Under the Trademarks Act, geographical name except under certain circumstances is considered not distinctive. For example, if a geographical name is applied for registration, it will not get registration unless and until it becomes distinctive and used for a long time. You cast any geographical name. But under the Geographical Production Act, if that food has emanated from a particular place, then that cannot be used in other place, and also they cannot sell the product. I'll give you a small example of Dharwad Peda. Dharwad Peda is famous in and around Dharwad Peda because it's manufactured. Why Dharwad Peda becomes so famous? Because of course there is a history that the family from North India came, Thakur and Vishal. They came to Dharwad and they settled down because there was a famine in Bihar. So they came down and settled down. So they wanted to eke out a livelihood. Then they started making pedas. Pedas they used by the ingredients available locally. What was that? The thick milk. That the Harvard peda is with the buffalo milk it is prepared. Then the sugar it was grown in the black soil, and then other ingredients and all that. So it became so famous. Then ultimately, in fact, I am told that the Nehru who has come for a 1932 Belgaum Congress, so he also tasted the Dharwad peda, and Mahatma Gandhi has tasted the Dharwad peda, and therefore it has become famous. Now, if you go to the Bangalore bakery, any bakery, they sell Dharwad bakery, Dharwad peda. But actually it is not a Dharwad peda because the ingredients are totally different, it is not emanated from that particular place, and therefore it is amounts to infringement of trademark. So, infringement of GA. So this was actually not protected earlier to when the Act came into prior to that 1999. Now, by virtue of the present Act, if the GA take a registration has been granted, then that cannot be used by any other person, sell in a different place and all that. Only in and around Dharwad it can be done. So it cannot be sold in Belgaum or Bangalore and that. Likewise, we have got a Belgaum Kunda is there. So Kunda can also be, it has got a history and of course, it is not as protected as this thing. So we have several products. For a best example is the Mysore silk saree. Mysore silk saree is owned by the Karnataka Silk Industries Corporation. It has actually identified a geographical area in and around Mysore, where the mulberry is grown and weaved in a particular style, design and all that. Therefore, it is there. So we have so many silk sarees. For example, you take the case of Mysore silk saree or Kanjivaram silk saree or Banaras silk saree. So all three are different varieties and it is only famous because of the local area and local artisans who weave that thing and all. In fact, there is a very interesting incident about the Banaras silk. So the Chinese silk is very cheap, cheapest in the market. So what they did was some Chinese people came to Banaras and recruited some artisans from the Banaras. So they took them to China and then got weaved the same design and all that. And then they dumped in the Surat market for 150 rupees, 200 rupees. Whereas this Banaras silk saree costs about 5,000 minimum. These people used to sell Banaras silk with a 500 rupees or 300 rupees with the Chinese silk and all. So these are the kind of things which are happening. So people are being cheated. So to ensure that the people doesn't get cheated with this act has come into force. Next. So what are the act applies to the indication of use by the goods, whether natural or manufacturing goods emanating from a particular area or a territory known for particular quality or a characteristic of the good. Such geographical names, if used by a person in relation to goods originating from different place, then it amounts to infringement of geographical name. This is the only action can be taken if it is emanated from a different place, if it is called with the same name. Next. So the trademark is a sign, actually the trademark and geographical indication, trademark is only a sign or a name which is given to a particular product and all. Whereas in case of a geographical indication, it tells the consumer the product is produced in a certain place and certain characteristics that are due to the place of production. Or it may be all producers to make their products in the places designated by geographical indications and whose products share the typical qualities. In fact, there was an incident about the Scotch whisky. You know, Scotch whisky comes from Scotland. So only whatever the whisky which is brewed in Scotland can be called as Scotch whisky. Supposing if the whisky is brewed in Bangalore or any other place, it cannot be called Scotch whisky. So invariably the Scotch Whisky Association, they keep filing the cases if any other trademark is called as Scotch. So Scotch can come only from the island, Scotland, where the breweries are there. There are about 30 to 40 breweries are there which manufacture the Scotch. So because the local conditions and historical significance of the Scotch, only that can be called as Scotch, and it cannot be called other breweries, they cannot call the whiskey they manufacture the Scotch. Next. So what are the advantages? Of course, it boosts exports and all, promote the thing, etc. and all. Next. So unlike trademark, registration can be applied only by an organization. For example, you have an organization which Sweet Manufacturer Association in Dharwad. They can apply for registration of that, and all of them who are similarly using that method of manufacturing, they can get that geographic indication registered. So it is only given to an organization. Number one is that, it has to be renewed every 10 years, and then it should be represent the interests of this thing. And individuals and partnerships, they cannot do. For example, you have a private individual who is also doing that. You cannot get registration of that. So only the company, the individuals cannot get registration. Only the trust, partnership, or a company which is engaged in this particular activity can get it registered. And the persons who are, supposing there are about 500 people, for example, you take the case of Chenpatna Ties. Chenpatna Ties, there are about the Karnataka Handicraft Development Corporation is the owner of the Chenpatna Ties. But there are about more than 500 other manufacturers also. But they can get a registered user agreement and then get manufacture that one. So this is the geographic indication. Next. You can show some samples. Next you can. See, these are the some thing I told you, Banaras silk sarees, Kanjivaram, and Mysore silk saree. Next. So these are all the thing. Karnataka has about 30 products which is leading in all over India. With this, there are many other products to be identified. Many of our other products just left to see. So somebody has to take interest and then get it registered. Next. Next. Yeah. Now I'll go through the design. Only 2 minutes. I'll just tell you. Design. There is also act called the Designs Act. For example, you produce a product. That is got a unique design. So that can be registered the Designs Act. So Designs Act 2000 provides for a registration of a design which is unique, not there in the public domain. It should not be identical or different. If it is a design is unique, it can be registered as a trademark, copyright, in the sense, it can be registered in Designs Act as well as in the Patent Act. So the design only protect your outer shape of the design, this thing. So that Design Act is the design, once you get a design registered, it is valid for a period of 10 years, then it can be renewed for another 5 years. So this is the one of the other act where your product can be protected. Next. These are some of the designs. Okay, next one. So in Designs Act only the shape is protected, not the function of the product. Next. Yeah. Next. Next. So, if it is not a new and original, it cannot be registered. And then previously it is not in the public domain, then it cannot be registered. Then there are some which are protected in the class 2 of the Copyright Act, it cannot be registered. Only the accused person can appeal to the register for a cancellation of a design. Next. So design can be assigned. For example, you got a particular design, you stop manufacturing and you wanted to give it to somebody else. It can be assigned and that person can take it. It's only valid for whatever the period, initially for 10 years, it can be extended for the 5 years. So within that period, he can use that, he becomes a registered proprietor. Of course, you want to give that design manufacturing to somebody else, you can also give a license and collect the royalty also. Next. If somebody is copying your design, then the person who has got a real design owner can also file a rectification application before the Register of Trademarks and also before the High Court. Next. You can go to the next slide. You can go to the next slide. The last one is a patent act. Patent is only refers to the invention of a product. It doesn't about not about the invention. That's called the functioning of a product. So what is important for a patent is that it should be unique. It should not be there in the public domain. You cannot have already a functioning. For example, this mobile phone. When it was invented, it was a when invented, it was a patent. This had a patent. because of 20 years, as a patent has got a life of 20 years, after 20 years nobody can, it becomes a public domain. In fact, there are several cancer drugs and all that, which Switzerland companies owning a patent and this thing. So after 20 years it becomes a, on the public domain anyway we can use it. Recently incident, there was a cancer drug which was patented by a Swiss company, Novartis. They did not, in India what has happened is India has got a patent law, that is section 3D of a patent act, where they can grant a compulsory license. That means to say, even in respect of a patent, if somebody wants to manufacture a general drug, the permission can be given by the government of India because in the public interest. Because the poor people cannot afford to buy the expensive cancer drug which is required for the sustenance of the humanity, and therefore the Supreme Court also upheld that law. So that is one, compulsory licensing in the patent is there. So patent can be given for the process patent as well as the design patent. So it is valid only for the 20 years. Whereas in case of a software, in USA it can be classified as a patent, whereas in India it is only a software can be classified only as a source code, which can be protected only as a copyright, nothing else. So that's all, sir. Thank you very much.
Products are made in factory, but brands are created in minds. And beautiful minds like you helps us create and sustain the brands more perfectly. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for sharing the knowledge with us. And we are very sorry for the inconvenience caused. I would now request CA Channamallikarjuna from Raichur to honor sir by presenting a token of appreciation. Just a second, sir. I guess we have a question.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, recently I was handling a case which was similar what you said, like Adidas. There's one digital marketing company which is already registered under LLP Act and is being operating from 2018. Okay. Under the same brand name, there was one more company floated in 2020 and they have put TM mark on their logo. But when I searched in, client got to know that when we are searching in the Google, the first company is coming, the fictitious or the recent company is coming on the top, sir. And they have also used the TM, this one, logo on that. When we searched in IP website, there was no registered this one. We got, I mean, the name of that brand was not registered in the IP website.
Okay.
So what is the remedy available, sir?
I understood your problem. Now 2018 companies also registered the Trademark Act. They have not applied for registration, correct?
No, they have not registered.
So they have started the company in 2018 for the digital marketing. Same name has been adopted by another person in 2020 and he has been using it.
Yes.
So what law says is, even in case of an unregistered trademark, prior user is the most important thing. So the 2018 company can file a civil suit and restrain other company from using the same trademark and logo. In fact, if they are using the same logo, it also constitutes a copyright. So infringement of copyright. So you can file a composite suit for passing of a
different place, but same business.
Huh?
Same business, but different place.
Different placement, different district.
Yes, sir.
If it is a different district, if you have to go to other district where the defendant is staying, you have to file a suit in that district court and get an injunction restraining from using the name. And you can also apply for registration of trademark. So registration of trademark goes by the user, not by this thing. In fact, there was a similar incident of Whirlpool. Whirlpool was not there in India prior to 1990. It only started after the Narasimha Rao opened up the economy, then the Whirlpool came to India and all that. There was a person in Delhi who was using the Whirlpool for the washing machines and all that. So he obtained registration also. When the Whirlpool wanted to enter the Indian market, he obtained an injunction restraining Whirlpool from using the trademark. Then ultimately the matter went to Supreme Court. Supreme Court said, even if you have got a registration trademark of a Whirlpool, if you have obtained fraudulently, the prior user will prevail. So whosoever used the prior, at that relevant point of time, the Whirlpool is used in more than 140 countries, and therefore ultimately he was stopped using that one. So therefore, in your case also, it is a prior user which is most important. Definitely they can take action.
Thank you. But the only thing is, problem is the proprietor or the partner, is MSME and he doesn't want to incur so much of funds on filing civil suit and everything.
If he doesn't incur, then that fellow will swallow this company.
That has happened. Thank you, sir.
It will not cost much now. District court
It
case.
depends on hardly in case if you are not asking for damages and all that, the court fee is 25 rupees, that's all. Only you have to negotiate with advocates, with a skillful advocate and then engage it. Yeah.
Good afternoon. In Andhra Pradesh or Telangana, there is Hyderabad in Bihar, and there is also Hyderabad in Jammu and
It's a
Kashmir.
very good question, I'll tell you. See, actually, Hyderabadi biryani is a GI product, which can be only manufactured in a particular place where the GI registration is granted. In the registration, if you go, they will give the areas which is covered and all that. Because it has got a unique taste, method of preparation, and then ingredients used and all that. If that name is misused somewhere else, action can be taken by the organization which has got a registration of Hyderabad biryani. And a lot of duplications are there. So, but Karnataka Silk Industries Corporation has to institute a suit. Not only use of the name and also use of the misuse of the GIF indication. So GIF indication act provides for an infringement of name if the product is emanated from a different place and called with a registered GI name.
Even if the name is same,
Yeah.
on the grounds that the area is different or
Yeah,
distinct,
different place
the,
action can be taken.
action can be taken. Thank
Not
you.
only it amounts to a geographic indication but also maybe a trademark also. So passing of action, the trademark act, if Hyderabad biryani itself is registered by the organization as a trademark, they can also institute the suit under the trademark act as well as the GI act.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. That would be the last question of the session. I would like to honor sir by presenting a token of appreciation for such a wonderful session.
ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ನಿಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನು ತೆಗಿಬೇಕು.
Designed to identify the activity that can be taken up for setting up an MSME. In the sense, yesterday I was talking in my opening remarks that in the tier 2, tier 3 cities, not many opportunities are there to do different products. So there is a lot of opportunity in agriculture field. So agriculture's income should be elevated, number one. That is being done by agriculture scientists in most of the agriculture universities across Karnataka and across the country. But in addition to that, whatever we produce here, the agriculture produce should be further processed by making value addition to see that the small, micro and small MSME units are set up at tier 2, tier 3 and even Hubli places also, district places, taluka places and Hubli places also. So for which I have fought for agriculture college, Ballari Agri, I don't know how many of you know, for 12 years and I have succeeded. And this year the BS Agriculture has been started with 30 seats at Agri near Ballari. And there are around 12 agriculture scientists in that center that is called KVK, Krishi Vigyan Kendra, sponsored by the central government. And there, one of the scientists from there, Dr. Shilpa, is here to update or to enrich our knowledge in agro processing, what are the agriculture produce and how to process it, number one. Number two, if you have any idea of processing, CFTRI is one organization which provides technology and machinery, also layout of the layout design of the factory. Number three, CAPEC is another organization. Vivek has come, Vignesh, is it? Vignesh, he has also come. CAPEC is another entity. State government or central government? State government. State corporation. And there, for micro agro product units, they have special schemes. He will be highlighting. Both of them will take 20-25 minutes or 20-20 minutes each.
20-20 match.
20-20 match, like before 2 p.m. the session will be over, and this is the real session for places like Ballari, Hosapete, Koppala, and all nearby places, and all the other official Karnataka. So this is what I wanted to introduce. I request Shilpa Madam to take all the proceedings.
She have done her PhD in Food Science and Nutrition from University of Agriculture Sciences, GKVK, Bangalore. MSc, BSc, PG Diploma in Nutrition and Diabetes, PG Diploma in Parental Education, Diabetic Educator Certificate course, and many more in her cap. She have worked as nutritionist in many known hospitals like Jayadeva Cardiology Hospital, Bangalore, Bangalore Baptist Hospital, KLS Medical College and Hospital, Belgaum, and many more. She also have worked as assistant professor in College of Agriculture, University of Agricultural Sciences, Raichur. She now presently working as scientist. She have written many, many publications have been published in international journals as well as national journal, popular articles, conference papers, folders and book chapters. Her academical achievements goes on. She have obtained 5th rank in national level ICAR. 5th rank in national level ICAR Junior Research Fellowship Award for pursuing master's degree. University 2 gold medals she have received. She have inspired fellowship given by Department of Science and Technology GOI for pursuing PhD degree. UGC NET with GRF. Best Young Scientist Award during Kannada Vijnana Sammelana, Women Scientist Award International Conference on Innovative and Current Advances in Agriculture and Allied Science during 27 February 2020 held at Bangkok, Thailand. We are very privileged to have you here, ma'am.
Over to you.
Speaker of this historic MSME conclave. Please put your hands together for her. Lady Resource.
दशपुत्र समाज्ञा दशपुत्रान् प्रवर्धयन् यत्फलं लभते वस्तुस्थल्यव्यम् ಪುರಾಣದಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳಿದೆ ದಶಪುತ್ರ ಸಮಾಕನ್ಯಾ ದಶಪುತ್ರಾನ್ ಪ್ರವರ್ಧಯನ್ ಯತ್ಫಲಂ ಲಭತೆ ಮಸ್ತಸ್ಥಲಭ್ಯಂ ಕನ್ಯೈ ಏಕಯ. When earlier when a lady child was born, parents used to have tensions. Now when a lady is born, parents think that she is equivalent to 10 sons.
Actually, it's my privilege to be here in this conclave as a resource person, and I thank Panaraj sir for inviting me for this conclave. So my topic for today's session is opportunities for value addition and agro-processing enterprises. Since entrepreneurs are also there, I will use Kannada in between.
Perspective.
Sir?
Final year MBA.
Okay, students are also
prospective entrepreneurs.
Yes, prospective entrepreneurs are also there. You all know that agriculture is the backbone of India, and farmers are the one who are providing us food security. But they face many challenges, especially climate change and also many other challenges related to agriculture, especially this pest menace and disease menace and all. So there is a innovative solution to increase the farm income of those farmers. What is that solution? The solution is nothing but agro-processing. It is not only food processing, even the cotton, it can be processed into cloths. Even the sericulture, we can make silk out of the cocoons. So even agriculture, where we get honey. So these all come under agro-processing. But today I am going to talk only about food processing. So the next slide. So today I will be talking about the statistics of agriculture in India and the basics of food processing, because the students are also there, they should know what is the basics of food processing, and a few success stories of our institute. Okay. So coming to the next slide. So India is a prosperous country. So we are leading producer of fruits and vegetables, second largest producer of fruits and vegetables, and we are largest producer of milk in the world, and also food grains we are in the second place, and also sugarcane we are in the second place. We are leading producer of goats and sheep, tea largest producers, and fisheries, especially marine and inland, we are leading producers. Cattle and buffaloes also, we are largest producers in the world. We have around 283 million cattle in our country. So we are prosperous. We are leading in the food grain production as well as fruits and vegetable production. But where we are lagging behind, let us see. Let's go to the next slide. So India has huge supply advantages. Why? Because we have different agroclimatic conditions. Especially 52% of cultivable land we have. It is 11% of the world average, and we have 15 major agroclimatic zones which are present in India, and also we have 46 out of 60 soil types in India, in our country, and we have 20 agroclimatic regions, and also sunshine hours and day length are ideally suited for year-round cultivation of the crops. So these are the advantages we have in our country. Go to the next slide. So we are topping in banana production. That is first place in banana production, pomegranate production, mango production, turmeric, okra and papaya. We are second in potato, tomato, onion, cauliflower, brinjal and cabbage production. So we have huge opportunity for horticulture processing, because around 18% of the land covers horticulture crops in India. So horticulture production is around 333.25 million tons in an area of 27.5 million hectare of area. So we are also exporting horticulture goods, and also we are leading in, as I already told, fruits and vegetable production we are leading. So when we see the CAGR, production of horticulture has surpassed the production of the other food grains in India. That is almost double than the food grains. The CAGR for food grains is 2.1, whereas for horticulture it is double, 4.2%. So we have huge opportunities and scope for processing the horticultural goods. So where we are lagging behind? The food produce which is produced in the farm, by the time it reaches our plate, it faces huge loss, post-harvest losses we can say. So where does this loss happen? The first one is field loss. Field loss especially because of pests, diseases and rodents, and during pre-processing also we face these losses. Inefficient harvesting, drying and milling, that also there also will face some of the losses, and during transport also we face the losses, and storage we lack the technical guidance. So we lack technical storage facilities. So there also we lose some of the grains and the produce. And we don't know proper processing and packaging, and we also don't know proper marketing. During marketing also spoilage and rotting happens in the stores, and even wastage by consumer. These are the problems which we are facing in our India. So post-harvest losses, even though we are leading in production of food grains and fruits and vegetables, we are lagging behind only because of our technical backlog. So what are the identified problems? We have non-existence of the primary grading and collection centers, and we don't have warehousing and proper cold storage structures, and the cold chain non-existence, and quality certification system is also non-existent, and transportation of perishable goods is improper, and also rural markets, they lack infrastructure. There also we lose some of the produce what we are getting. And also wholesale markets, they are in government control, so they lack modern facilities. These are the problems what we are facing. Next. So when we see the level of processing across the segments, in India, when compared to the other developed countries, only 2.2% of the fruits and vegetables are being processed. Even though we are second largest producers of fruits and vegetables, only 2.2% of the fruits and vegetables are being processed in India. When compared to the other countries like USA and Philippines, China. USA, it processes around 65% of its produce. And coming to the marine, poultry, buffalo and meat, again it is 26%, 6% and 20%, whereas in other developed countries it is around 60 to 70%. So milk, it's better compared to the other produce, it is around 35%. So 35% of the milk is being processed in India. So what is the global competitiveness of India? India produces around 11% of the world's vegetables and around 15% of the fruits, whereas in case of global exports, it is only 1.7% for the vegetables and 0.5% for the fruits. So we are not exporting what we are producing. That's where we are lagging behind. And another reasons to quote here another reason for this is maybe the international transport cost is more, that is 20 to 30 times higher than that faced by the other countries, and the storage and distribution services are inefficient. So that's where we are not exporting our goods. And we are also have poor backward linkages, and we don't have cold storage facilities. Our complete supply chain is improper, inefficient. That's why the produce what we are getting is being lost. Next. So we are exporting our produce to the countries which are geographically closer to us, especially to Europe and Middle East, Japan, Singapore, Malaysia and Korea. So around 34% of our produce is exported to South Asia and 29% to Middle East, and to the US and Canada only 1% is being exported. Next. So coming to the food processing. So what is the solution for all these post-harvest losses? We have only one solution, that is food processing. So government is also giving lot of opportunities to the farmers and the entrepreneurs and the startups for taking up the food processing activity. So what is food processing then? Food processing can be defined as a transformation of raw ingredients and intermediates into products intended to improve the digestibility, bioavailability of the nutrients, and energy, appearance, taste, aroma, texture, safety, storability, packaging, as well as distribution. This is called food processing. Next. So what is value addition then? There is a difference between food processing and value addition. So value addition is nothing but adding the value. so to the produce. So the original state of the product is changed to provide more value to the product. So that is called value addition. To give you a simple example, a cob sold by the farmer for 5 rupees is being taken by the vendor. So he roasts it and he will sell it to the price of 20 rupees each. So a processor who is having a minimum facility of processing equipment, he makes it into popcorn, he sells it for rupees 200 in the cinema theaters.
Cinema theater matra ಹೊರಗಡೆ ಇಲ್ಲ.
So ಹೊರಗಡೆ ನೀವು around 30 to 50 rupees ಗೆ ಸಿಗಬಹುದು. So this is called value addition. And ಇನ್ನೊಂದು cotton candy, if you take the example, sugar what he uses for making one cotton candy is just 5 to 10 grams. So 5 to 10 grams, what is the cost of 5 to 10 grams? Around 0.25 to 0.50 paisa. 50 paisa he spends for making, for purchasing the sugar, and he will make cotton candy with the sugar, and he will sell it to the consumers at the rate of 20 rupees. So huge difference. So there is where we can get more profit. Processing is the business where we'll get more profit. So different people have different perspective for value addition. Farmer, he thinks that value addition is, it is the value or the money what he fetches. So that's what he called it as value addition. And the processor, it is the conversion to products and value of the products. And the consumer, what she thinks? She thinks that it is the value addition is the quality, variety and degree of convenience of a product. So this is what value addition means in the perspective of different people, farmer, processor and consumer. Next. So what are the objectives of processing then? So processing, mainly we make processing, it is not a new concept, it is an old concept. ನಮ್ಮ ಹಿರಿಯರೆಲ್ಲ ಡ್ರೈಯಿಂಗ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು ಮೊದಲಿಂದ. ವಿ ಯೂಸ್ ಟು ಮೇಕ್ ಪಾಪಡ್ಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಚಿಲ್ಲಿ ಡ್ರೈಯಿಂಗ್, ಚಿಲ್ಲಿನ ಒಣಗಿಸ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಮೆಣಸಿನ್ಕಾಯಿ ಮಾಡೋದು, ದೆನ್ ಸಂಡಿಗೆ, ಹಪ್ಪಳ, ಬಾಳೆಹಣ್ಣು ಡ್ರೈಯಿಂಗ್, ಎಸ್ ಹಾಂ. ಸೊ ಇವೆಲ್ಲ ಓಲ್ಡ್ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್. ಬಟ್ ಇದನ್ನ ನಾವು ವಿ ವಾಂಟ್ ಇಟ್ ಟು ರಿಫೈನ್ ದೆಮ್, ವಿ ವಾಂಟ್ ಟು ಬ್ರ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ದೆಮ್, ವಿ ವಾಂಟ್ ಟು ಪ್ಯಾಕ್ ದೆಮ್, ವಿ ವಾಂಟ್ ಟು ಅರ್ನ್ ಮನಿ ಫ್ರಮ್ ದೆಮ್. ಸೊ ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ವಿ ಕಾಲ್ ಇಟ್ ಆಸ್ processing ಅಂತ ಕರೀತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ, ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂ ಎಡಿಷನ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಪ್ರಾಸೆಸಿಂಗ್. ಸೊ ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂ ಎಡಿಷನ್ ಹೇಗೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದು ನಾವು? ಟು ಪ್ರಿಸರ್ವ್ ದ ಫುಡ್ಸ್ ಫಾರ್ ಲಾಂಗ್ ಸ್ಟೋರೇಜ್, ಫಾರ್ ಲಾಂಗ್ ಯೂಸೇಜ್. ಸೊ ಎಸ್ಪೆಷಲಿ ಟು ಪ್ರಿಸರ್ವ್ ಅಂಡ್ ರೆಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ದ post harvest losses. So we get mangoes in particular season. So our mangoes we want to eat in the off season also. So what we need to do, we can make it, we can dry it, we can make it into juice, we can make it into pulp and freeze it. So that's how we can make use of the seasonal fruits. So that is nothing but preservation. So to ensure the safety, quality and availability throughout the year, we process the food, and also to generate the income, we process the foods. It is not only just to the farmer, but also trade, processors and financiers, they need to earn the money. For that we need to process our food. Help build community, powerful social and societal activity. For this also we need to process the food, and also to improve the health of the population we need to process the food. So we have wide range of health products available in the market. ಇವಾಗ ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಹೆಲ್ತ್ ಕಾನ್ಶಿಯಸ್, ಆಲ್ ಆರ್ ಹೆಲ್ತ್ ಕಾನ್ಶಿಯಸ್. ಸೊ ಫೈಬರ್ ರಿಚ್ ಪ್ರಾಡಕ್ಟ್ ಅಂತೆ, ದೆನ್ ಮಿಲೆಟ್ ಪ್ರಾಡಕ್ಟ್ಸ್, ವಿ ಆರ್ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಫಾರ್ ಮಿಲೆಟ್ ಪ್ರಾಡಕ್ಟ್ಸ್, then low sugar, low sodium products, nutraceuticals, functional foods, we call them as functional foods. So these kind of foods we are going for. So that is the reason why we need to process our food. So to improve our health also we need to process our food. So who are the key players in processing industry in India?